looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll with Planet.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.
All right, y'all. We are back once again from the studio here. I'm John Galloway, your host. If you know me from Twitch, I'm Das. I go by two names. It gets confusing. Let me know that you can hear and see me okay. That's our first sort of status check. But we've got a road closure and pad clear down at Boca Chica, so we are live. Give me a 5x5. Benjamin Hindering. Of course I'm live. Why would I appear on the camera if I wasn't live? Seriously? Yeah, we're live right now. But give me a 5x5 chat over there and just let me know that everything is cool. All right. So, like I said, pad clear down at Boca Chica, and we have a live stream coming over here. Survey says, I practiced. I didn't practice. I just clicked the right box this time. This is a live feed coming from SN4 down at Boca Chica. We've got Boca Chica gal Mary over there, and she is on the line with us right now. Mary, how's it going down at Boca Chica today?
Oh, it's going great.
Yeah?
Just a little warm.
A little warm? How's the temperature treating you?
Oh, it's like 90.
90? You're out there in the van about 1.6 miles away from SN4?
Correct.
All right, good deal. Well, let's put your video full screen here. Also joining us right now, we've got Michael Baylor. Michael, you copy?
Yes, I do. How is everybody doing? We are looking at a live view of Starship SN4, which is about to make a second static fire attempt today. If you joined us this morning, we saw an aborted static fire attempt. They had fueled the vehicle up with liquid oxygen and methane, but unfortunately they had some sort of issue. We don't know exactly what, so they had to detank the vehicle before making that static fire. So we're hoping now this afternoon that they will be able to make another attempt and successfully ignite that Raptor engine. The window has been extended. It was supposed to end at 2 p.m. Central Time today, but they have filed another temporary flight restriction zone to give them an extra 2 hours. So they have until 4 p.m. now to complete today's testing. So still plenty of time, and if all goes well, we should see a static fire attempt within the next hour or two. The road has been cleared for the second time. So all is looking good so far, and hopefully, like I said, we will see that second static fire attempt, I should say. Third static fire total with Starship SN4.
Yeah, so again, just to make it very clear to everybody who's watching, we are not expecting a hop. I hate to say it, and one day I'll be able to say we are expecting a hop, but for today, we are not expecting this to hop. We're not expecting this to hop. We're expecting, hopefully, a static fire. Like Michael just said, we have about 2.5 hours, just over 2.5 hours in the window. Window closing at 4 p.m. CDT. Upper left-hand corner of your screen, you can see a clock. We added that because you asked us to add that, so now it's there. But I want to make it very clear, also, we do not have a specific checklist. SpaceX does not put out a checklist or anything like that, so we do not know exactly what they're going to attempt or not attempt. We think they're doing a static fire. We know that that's sort of what they've been setting up for, but in terms of saying, oh yes, this, the time that the test is going to happen is an unknown. All we know for sure is that it has a window, and that window for the road closures ends at 4 p.m., so they have just over 2.5 hours to get some testing done. As always, since we're live all over the map, if you have a question for us as we chat, tag us at NASASpaceflight in the YouTube chat. I am reading that live. Like I can see, give us the weather conditions, wind speed, and direction. So that's interesting because the weather conditions, wind speed, and directions don't really affect these tests. Right? I think if that information was relevant, that might be interesting to put on the screen, but SpaceX doesn't have like go, no-go conditions for that, so putting that on the screen, I don't know. You'd have to convince us what good the weather conditions. I am a fan of this beautiful, stable, clean signal that we're getting here. We get that atmospheric haze, but putting too much little scrolling stuff on the screen, I'm not personally a fan of it. So, anyways, we are also going to have some additional guests joining us here in just a bit. I know that the Chris's and some of our other NASA Spaceflight hosts are in some other things right now, but we are going to get some other commentators on here in just a bit. So anyways, Once again, we're standing by. We know we have just over 2.5 hours. We're thinking we might get a static fire. We have this fantastic video coming live from Boca Chica. It's live as in live, like right now. And that is because Boca Chica gal Mary is down there on the side of the road about 1.6 miles away from the pad, from the test facility, watching Starship SN4. Whew. Okay, that's DOS talking a lot. So somebody ask a question.
Well, I want to ask a question, but
Sure.
I will go through a couple super chats. Well, first of all, Tom Brooks, thank you for the new membership. And Benjamin, thank you for the 10 pounds, or 11 pounds, actually, I should say.
11 pounds? That sounds like more to carry. I thought we were trying to minimize the amount of weight that Mary had to carry around. Thank you for laughing. Chat, you need to laugh too. I'm trying here, okay? Officially, I am a dad in real life, so I can tell dad jokes.
Those are euros, not a pound. I'm dumb.
Oh, well, now my joke is just completely doesn't make any sense. Ah, yes. Ha, ha, ha. Can we get bluebirds? Reese, the bluebirds have all left the nest. It's been almost a week since I've seen the bluebirds. I hear them on occasion, but I do not have live video of the bluebirds. I'm hoping they come back and build another nest, which is a possibility. But I don't think there's any bluebirds down there at Boca Chica. Are there, Mary?
Oh, I don't know.
We get
I
like
guess.
sandhill cranes, blue herons, probably a bunch of grackles, blackbirds, but I think it's their environment down
and
there.
Orioles and
Yeah.
um,
So there
tanagers.
are
There's a lot
some
of
songbirds then, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. All right. So scrolling through the chats here. Yes, I'm very, very trying. I try really hard, Oren Sparks. I don't think you meant it that way, but I have the microphone. Let's see here. No dissing the Queen's money. What's up, NASA Spaceflight? Chris B in the chat. Somebody give a round of applause to Chris B. Picture's nice. Good to hear, Matt. Let's hope that the hops are soon and the static fire stays static. I like that one. Revenevan was your name. Hope the static fire stays static. A lot of bluebird chats there. Yes. Autofocus would have issues with atmospheric distortion. Oh, so this is 1.6 miles away from the pad right now, y'all. So the atmospheric distortion you're getting, that is because we are the minimum safe distance away. In order to get a clearer shot than this, we would have to approach within the minimum safe distance, and that's not something that we're asking Mary to do.
No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. You stay right where you are, right outside the roadblock, please, Mary. We want you to stay a safe distance away.
They like seeing me right here.
They've come to expect you there because you're within visual distance of the roadblock or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so they know that you're right there. Let's see here. Michael, do we have any indication? I mean, I'm not seeing any venting from the pad right now. The flare is on. The flare is visible. But I don't see any indication of fueling operations yet. Concur?
Yes. It's kind of how it was this morning. It took a bit after pad clear before we started seeing some action. If this goes like the previous tests, we'll see the tank farms start venting a lot before we see venting from the vehicle. So that will be the first sign to look for. Mary, has the wind picked up a bit today or this afternoon?
We might have lost Mary there for a second.
Well, anyways, this morning there is very little wind. So we had a lot of that condensation building up around the base of the tank farms and the rocket. It was pretty cool, but it looks like based on that flare stack, there's a lot more wind. So there might be less condensation able to build up at the pad this afternoon, but certainly
definitely a little breezier.
Yeah.
A little breezier. It feels good, actually.
I'm glad we could get you
breeze.
some breeze blowing through the van down there, Mary.
Yeah, it does help.
It does look like the flare stack is going left on the screen. Mary, do you know, is the wind blowing to the north right now, or can you say which compass direction that is? I don't know.
I think it's blowing from the southeast, maybe.
Okay. I've never really oriented myself with that pad
Yeah,
in the direction of that flare.
it's always confusing out here,
Yeah.
I think, as far as knowing exactly which direction.
I'm
I'm
gonna
just looking
I'll see if I
at
can
my
bring up a
weather
map
app. It says winds from the south
from the south. Gotcha.
on my weather app.
All right. So again, we appreciate Mary being out there. We have the live video because Mary is out there operating the camera. So everybody, thanks to Mary for making this happen for us here today. And earlier today, right? We were live earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot earlier.
A lot earlier, she says. I wasn't able to be here for that. But y'all were definitely live early this morning. And what'd y'all see this morning?
A lot of venting.
Yeah. A lot of venting. We saw a couple RCS tests at the end, but I think the really cool part of this morning was at the very beginning, we had that awesome view of the rocket as the sun was rising, and without any haze because it wasn't hot enough yet.
Oh, yeah.
Right now it looks like an oven, and that's because it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I was born and bred down there, and when I see the heat like that, I am not envious of sitting in the vehicle.
And I do have a brief update. I'm looking at the temporary flight restrictions. There's a new one filed for tomorrow now, up to 1,500 feet, which means that is another ground testing flight restriction. There was originally a flight. There's a picture of the view this morning. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there was originally a temporary flight restriction for the 150-meter hop scheduled for today. That was later revised to be just for the static fire because there were some schedule delays, so they weren't able to do the hop today, obviously. And now tomorrow also has another schedule opportunity for more ground testing if needed. If they static fire today, I'm not sure if they will need to test tomorrow, but if they have more issues, they have an opportunity tomorrow. That window will open at noon local time. So we are still waiting to see when that hop will be rescheduled, if it is. Again, this is a prototype vehicle, so it's very possible that they may decide, based on the test data that they have, that this vehicle is in fact not ready to hop, and they might wait for SN5 to do a hop. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But as of now, there are no flight restrictions that are large enough to be for a hop.
Gotcha. So I also saw a question over here in chat, and I'm going to reiterate with everybody. There are no dumb questions. One of the reasons we do this is because we want to not only get everybody excited about what's going on, but we want to share this. We want to help educate or inform people about it. So there's a question from Ozzy saying, can you quickly explain what a static fire is for plebs like me? Ozzy, I appreciate you asking the question. The static fire is when they put fuel, so methane and oxidizer, liquid oxygen, in the big tank. So that big tall tank is SN4. It's serial number 4, one of the prototype Starships that SpaceX is building. And they're going to put liquid fuel and oxidizer in there. They have a Raptor engine. You can't see the engine on the bottom because it's sort of tucked up under the there's a skirt back there, but there is a rocket engine underneath the bottom of the big tank. And what a static fire would be them actually turning that engine on, giving it fuel, giving it oxygen, lighting it, igniting it, and creating thrust coming out of that engine. So if there is a static fire, we see a big plume of blown dust, right? Because the engine is actually emitting force out the bottom, emitting flames, emitting thrust out the bottom, and that's what we would see as a static fire, not to be confused with a pre-burner test. Now, a couple times here from Boca Chica, we've seen a big ball of flame come out the bottom of the rocket, but no dust cloud. And if we get flames, like sort of a billowing ball of flame, as opposed to a huge dust cloud being thrown up, that is a pre-burner test. And the pre-burner test is a situation where the engine is going through the ignition sequence, but it's not actually ramping up to make thrust, so the exhaust plume doesn't hit the dust and kick up this massive dust cloud. You can definitely tell the difference between a pre-burner test and a static fire. And we're hoping that in this now remaining just under 2.5-hour window, SpaceX will get a static fire test, so we get a big plume of dust kicked up by the Raptor engine generating thrust out of the bottom of the Starship there. So a great question. Again, no dumb questions. You will hear me, if you've seen this stream before, you will hear me repeat the same thing over and over again. And if you're a normal viewer, you may be like, geez, that guy, he keeps explaining it. I know what it is. Just keep in mind, there are always people joining us who may not know what's going on, and I am more than happy to help share that information with them. So, anyways, that's my little spiel. Welcome to the show. Junior Perez, look, I see this over in chat. Junior Perez says, I'm answering questions like a moderator. I didn't see exactly what you said, but I do also appreciate people in the chat that are helping spread some information, you know? So when we have, when somebody asks a question, I talk a lot, and we might not be able to answer the question in real time, and sometimes we miss questions too. We may scroll past it and not see it. And so the people that are also engaged in chat helping answer questions in text, we really appreciate you helping out. So, yes. The mods are all robots, Christian Iverson. The mods are robots. Let's see here. So again, I'm just going to keep on scrolling through chat. How much thrust does the static fire get? Matt Svensson, I don't believe we have an actual number from SpaceX. I mean, we could try to guess towards the number. Michael, do we know for sure?
No, we don't.
Okay.
And they've probably done various thrust levels for the different static fires that they've done. Again, this is the third static fire total that they're attempting today. So they've presumably done different types of static fires over the course of this testing campaign. And they do not publish the specific target thrust that they're going for. Raptor has a lot of thrust throttling capabilities. So it's not like there's just one level of thrust it's capable of putting out. So there could be a wide variety of percentages of its rated thrust.
And also, we know that SN4 is connected to that launch stand. So the girder, sort of brown structure underneath the silver tank, that is the test stand, and we know that SN4 is connected to that test stand. So does it create greater than 1.0 thrust to weight? If it did, the test stand would have to hold it down. Is it just the weight of Starship with all the fuel and stuff in it? That would, of course, wildly vary based on how much fuel they put in it. So SpaceX has not told us any specific numbers. They've talked in general about, Raptor can put out this much thrust or whatever. But when they're doing the static fires, they have not officially said exactly how much thrust that is. And if I'm incorrect on that, if I missed a tweet or something, feel free to correct me. But to my knowledge, I have not seen SpaceX official, like SpaceX actual, say, yada, 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 here's how much thrust the static fire makes.
Dave is asking how long a static fire can test stand withstand. And that's another good question. I don't think we know the answer to, but I don't know the specific number, but I will say it's not very long, because with previous tests, we've seen the Raptors send a lot of debris flying and whatnot. That has damaged some of the associated ground support equipment, including taking out the lights on one of the recent static fires. So they definitely don't want to be running the engine too long, because there's no flame trench to strategically push the thrust or direct the thrust in a specific direction. It just kind of goes all over the place. So the stand would probably get damaged if they did a 30-second static fire. So I think most likely today we'll see a couple of seconds of fire and a lot of dust for sure. But the main thing to look for, if you've been watching these tests over the past 2 weeks, is the water suppression system. The sound suppression system / water deluge system. That is something that only turns on for static fire.
Right.
So if we see a fire hose, basically spraying the base of the pad underneath the rocket, that is a sign that they are about to do a static fire and not a pre-burner test or a spin prime test. So that's the thing to look for, that water coming out. And a super chat from Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas, we appreciate your question there. We appreciate the question. I don't think either of us are experts on that, so you'll have to wait till we have an astronaut on the stream to answer that question. I'm gonna defer that question to a future stream. How's that sound? We don't have that subject matter expert online right now. Anyways, again, if you're just joining us, we are standing by for some static fire tests here from Boca Chica. We've got Boca Chica gal out there. It's hot. It's 90 degrees F, and if I consult the Oracle, 90 F to C, that's about 32.2 degrees Celsius. So it's a toasty day out there. You can see the heat wavering in the 1.6 miles between the camera and the launch pad. That minimum safe distance there defined by the local authorities, I guess we should say, right? So here's another question: do we know what SpaceX is planning on about the legs for SN4, SN5 for the hop? So Zizep, that's a good question. SN4 that you see on the screen right now, that actually does have legs on it, but it's tucked. The legs are tucked up underneath the skirt. Michael, do we have that picture of the skirt handy in the overlay?
Yes, we do. 1 second.
All right, we'll get you an illustration of this, and we'll just do this really quickly. We don't see any venting, so we can put this full screen. But
If this
here,
is the right picture. Yeah, there we go.
that's actually looking up from the ground, up underneath the skirt. You can see the Raptor engine there in the middle, not the very middle. It's a little offset because Raptors can gimbal, but there are actually 6 landing legs around the outside, and they almost look like little cubic octags from Kerbal Space Program with gear around them. You can see them sort of ringing around the outside, and when this thing lands, allegedly, those things have a mechanism that allows them to extend out the bottom, and it lands on those. Of course, we saw Starhopper before. Michael, I think we're good with the picture there. We saw Starhopper in the past, and Starhopper had those big, beefy legs, right, that sort of stuck off the side, and we do not expect to see that on SN4, SN5 because of this new sort of low-profile, tucked into the skirt landing leg design. So Hopper was these are big beefy legs for this first hop. You can actually still see Hopper with one of its legs. It's the shiny dome to the left of the screen, right? And we do not expect those style legs to be on any of the Starship prototypes going forward. So, continuing on. There we go. And Michael, if you see somebody else trying to get into the Zoom call, feel free to just sing out loud because I may not see them trying to get in, okay?
Got it.
Let's see. How long would it take to build one of these? Simon Warbrick asked, how long would it take to build one of these? Starship SN4? I don't know off the top of my head. Mary, you are out there all the time. From the time that we saw the first rings of SN4 to the time that it was stacked on the pad or I guess transported to the pad for the first time, how long is that? Weeks? Is that 2 months? What's your guess on that?
My guess would be about a month, I think.
About a month?
I think so.
It's so hard to keep track of.
Yeah, it really is. Because now, we've got SN4 and we've got SN5, but I'm thinking it was close to a month.
Gotcha. So, again, y'all, if you follow Mary's normal videos and all the pictures that she brings from Boca Chica, there are rings that get welded, right? These components, they're almost like Lego blocks to build a starship, and they weld this ring, but not always on the side of the ring does it say SN4, SN5, SN6. So keeping track of when the first ring that's actually appearing on SN4 right now was laid down, it's a little bit of a trick to keep up with that. So that is Mary thinks that's about a month, maybe a little bit more or less than a month to get a Starship welded and stacked. And we say Starship. Realistically, this is still very much a prototype. I'm going to say it. YouTube chat, please don't kill me. Twitch, I'm going to say that this is not a Starship. This is a Starship prototype. So it's got a bunch of pieces of a Starship, but it's missing a nose cone. It's missing maybe some aerodynamic surfaces. There are things that are missing from this prototype that a Starship would have. So can I say it that way? Would anybody want to argue with me about that this is a Starship prototype, not a full Starship? Haha, everybody else is muted, so they can't argue with me. Let's let some more people onto the call here real quick and see if they want to complain. We've got Thomas Berghardt joining the call. How's it going, Thomas?
It's good, and I believe Chris is just on the up. Chris is connecting as well. There you go.
I was sort of talking that through while his microphone got connected, and we'll stand by for his audio to connect as well.
Yeah, and we
Looks
come
like
bearing
Jack wants
news,
to.
by the way.
What was that, Mary?
Yeah, I was saying I think Jack wants to get on too.
Oh, Jack too. Well,
Yeah.
Jack,
All right.
if you can hear the sound of my voice, go ahead and get connected. Was that Chris B I just heard, or Chris G I just heard?
It is Chris G, fresh off our Demo 2 planning meeting. Greetings, everyone.
Planning meetings? What are we doing for Demo 2 that requires planning meetings? I didn't sign up for that.
I don't know, Das. Someone had this crazy idea that we should do like an 11-hour long broadcast.
Ooh.
Some total person that just wanted to make everyone's life difficult called Chris Gebhardt.
But Chris, should we tell them what we discovered during said meeting? That's more pertaining to Starship.
I think we should. Yes, take it away, Thomas.
So, and I hope you guys didn't mention this on stream, otherwise this is going to be really embarrassing. Someone has discovered a temporary flight restriction for Thursday, May 21st, from noon until 6 p.m. local time.
No.
Which coincides with the altitude we connected to a hop test.
Oh no.
So Thursday, noon to 6 p.m.
No. That's not good.
It.
That's on Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. I'm doing another virtual event with Intrepid Museum. We're gonna have Garrett Reisman from SpaceX on talking with Mike Massimino about commercial crew and DM2. No hops in that time frame, please.
Oh no.
Hey, it also means if that window sticks, we need to rearrange our final Demo 2 planning meeting.
Yes.
Oh jeez. Oh, hey, it looks like we got Jack on the call as well. Jack, if you're connected, say hi. Let's just make sure we got you in here.
Say let's hi. Let's just make sure we got you in here.
Okay, Dad. Thanks.
This is what I love about Jack. He brings the dad jokes.
There are no words for how satisfying that was.
Let's go around the horn and introduce ourselves to everybody that's watching. I know that we're a bunch of disembodied voices while we're talking here, but just up at the top, let's start. We just had Chris Gebhardt join. Chris, introduce yourself so people know the sound of your voice.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor of NASASpaceflight. Welcome to what we hope is a static fire of Starship.
Alrighty, Thomas Berghardt is here as well. Thomas, let people hear you.
Hi, my name is Thomas Burkhardt, and I'm a writer/reporter for NASASpaceflight.com.
Good deal. Jack Bear, how's it going?
No complaints. Got a little sleep after the last stream, so I'm wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
All right, that's the sound of Jack Bayer's dulcet tones there. And we've got Michael Baylor as well. He was on with me at the start. Michael, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Super green.
Oh, sorry. I am a writer and photographer for NASASpaceflight.com.
All right, and then out in the field, we've got Mary. You've heard Mary's voice on just about every live stream because if we've got video from Boca Chica, it is Mary who we thank for that. Mary, say hi so people can hear you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary, Boca Chica gal.
There we go. Boca Chica gal, camera operator, videographer extraordinaire who is the person to thank for all of these wonderful live feeds. And then lastly, I'm John Galloway. I am a live stream producer for NASA Spaceflight. I'm also a host for educational STEM events and stuff. But if you watch my Twitch stream, you may know me as Das. But when we do media stuff, I go by my real name, which is John. And just in time, we got some flares, y'all. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
All right. As if it didn't need to be any hotter down at Boca Chica, SpaceX has fired up that methane flare stack. So we're looking like we're starting to make some progress. What's the next thing we would expect to see? Like, do we see any venting come from the tank farm yet?
That would be the next thing, I think.
All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Have we done that? Have we done like an order of operations, like first flare stack, and then grass vent, and then...
I think we've tried, but a big part of it, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier today, is the data set that we have that we're drawing all of our suppositions from is very small. So we think we know what certain things mean, but stuff changes.
Yeah.
That said, I've never really sat down with an Excel spreadsheet or something crazy and watched each feed and put in the times. I know in our Discord Ben Craddock has been super helpful coming up with little insights like that. Like, oh, the big flare might be about a 2-minute warning or things like that. So
Yeah, because it's testing, and because everybody's learning. SpaceX is learning when they do these tests. It's really hard to pin down an exact countdown, right? It's when we have these actual launches, like a Falcon 9, an operational launch of a Falcon 9. That is like a ballet of engineering and timing, and we know, okay, T minus 20 minutes before the launch, we're going to see a big vent. Those things go off like clockwork, right? But here, this is experimental prototype testing, so it's very difficult to put an exact time frame in. Every time they do this, SpaceX learns something and we learn something. So it is very entertaining for us to sit here and play roadside rocket scientist, but we don't ever know exactly the order that exactly the timing that will happen. So
I love it. Roadside rocket scientist. It's like armchair quarterback, but way cooler.
we need to get some T-shirts made that say that. Like, who would buy a T-shirt that said "Roadside Rocket Science" with like a picture of a Starship on there or something?
I would.
I would.
Oh dear, are we previewing the NSF store now?
I know, right?
Like,
Oh, that's what we should do, like a silhouette of the tank farm, and then underneath it, like "Roadside Rocket Science" or something. I'd wear that shirt.
I'd wear that too. Yeah.
All right. Well, I know when I'm on, I tend to monopolize the conversation because I talk a lot, but y'all go ahead and talk too. I'm gonna be quiet for a minute. I got something I gotta look at.
Okay, so not surprising that then the person whose teachers from kindergarten through 5th grade kept saying Christopher needs to learn how not to talk as much as he normally does would be the one to talk first. So, but yes, to everyone watching, thank you so much, and give your thanks to Mary for being out there, Boca Chica, giving us these fabulous looks at Starship as we head toward what we believe will be a static fire attempt later today. I don't know where we are in the timeline right now, but the first hint we should see that fueling operations are getting underway is some venting, some things that look like fog or gases around, white gases around the farm area, the tank farm, there to the left of your screen. And I know it's really, really hazy out there right now. I don't see any signs of anything being chilled down. And Mary, do you see anything that indicates they've started chill down yet?
There's
there we go.
At the tank farm.
Yes,
of the devil.
I got us. Well, hooray!
That's perfect timing.
We really must thank SpaceX for all the excellent timing they've done when talking about something to draw attention to that. You know,
I just imagine there's a guy in the gateway right now, just up the street, with the feed on, and he's just got like a control panel in front of him, and like each button is labeled with like just a shoddy little like label maker.
Like a label maker.
Yeah. And one just says like flare stack, and one says double vent, and one says Raptor. Like, you know, it's like just smashing buttons and laughing.
and then there's like the final one that just says confuse media.
Confuse media. Yeah. There's one labeled
that's
forklift horn.
Yeah. So the confused media one is the one they hit the most.
There's more venting along the big horizontal tank by Starhopper right now. Yep.
It's like one of those Fisher Price like kids play centers, you know, with like the steering wheel and all.
It's got a little horn on it that you can hit.
Oh my god. What is it like? It's like that pull string. What were those pull string things that would go around and then say like the cow says move? But it's one of those.
Speak and spell.
Like, the speak and spell.
Speak
yes,
and spell.
It's like, so today SpaceX will hold the cord. Static fire.
It'd be a fuel and fire.
Yeah, a fuel and fire. Yeah,
a fuel and fire.
Instead of a see and whatever the heck those things are called, a see and speak, something like that.
Well, there was a doll that talked too, like a chatty Cathy or something, right? Where you pull the string.
Oh yes.
Say different things. So here's a question from chat: do we know which tanks are what? the white horizontal tanks, the vertical black tanks, the vertical white tanks. Like, can we say which tanks are what? Does anybody know?
I think the only ones we know are which tanks in the Starship itself are which. I don't know if we know exactly what all the ground tanks are, unless I'm mistaken.
I thought we'd seen photos of the big white one coming in with if it was a LOX tank or a methane tank.
Yeah, I know they have stickers, like they have the hazard labels and stuff on the
Right.
side.
I might have to like go back and look at some old photos to try and match everything up. Offhand, I don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't either. Yeah.
But what I can tell you confidently is that on Starship itself, the top tank is methane and the bottom tank is liquid oxygen.
Right.
So, that one I know. And again, this window extends until 4 p.m. local time now, right?
Yes, that's correct. Just over 2 hours right now.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people just joining us, it looks like. If you're just joining us, we are standing by. That is Starship SN4. This is a live feed from Boca Chica, Texas, and we are expecting SpaceX to proceed towards what's hopefully ends in a static fire today. A static fire would be turning on the Raptor engine that's underneath the tall silver tower. The tall silver tower is, of course, Starship SN4, but that is a prototype spacecraft. A massive prototype spacecraft that SpaceX is working on down there in Texas. So this is a live feed. We have courtesy of Mary, Boca Chica gal, who's on the call with us here. And all the voices you hear are commentators from NASASpaceflight. So NASASpaceflight, independent news organization covering, well, I don't know, spaceflight, right?
Usually.
Usually.
With a side of bluebirds or something.
With the side of bluebirds. Anyways, we appreciate everybody stopping through. And did I miss anything over on this side? Scroll down to the bottom. Covering shuttle. Primarily covering space shuttle activities. Still.
Not always.
Yeah, and this one, so Starship SN4 is a prototype. We do not expect Starship SN4 to ever go orbital. We figure that it's going to be a subsequent version, SN6, 10, 12, 15. All of this is a rapid iteration that SpaceX is doing down there, and they literally build something and see if it works. And it may burn down, right? And then they'll build another one and see if it works, and that one may burn down and sink into the swamp. And they just keep going ahead and changing up things as they learn to try and get these starships up to a level where they can actually fly one. So if this one survives all its testing, we expect that we might see a hop, which means that that thing would actually take off from the launch pad and fly up into the air a little bit, just a short hop, 150 meters. But in terms of this, what you see on the screen actually going to space, we are pretty confident that this is not going to space intentionally.
But nevertheless, I think we're all very excited because the static fire is very likely the last step towards getting that 150-meter hop test that we're all very excited to see. So,
Is that a little venting from the top of Starship?
you know
Yes.
what? I think it is.
Good eye, Mary. There's a little bit of a pixel between those black tanks up at the top of Starship, the vertical lines. Those are COPVs, and you can see a little bit of a vent coming between them. That white dot will disappear in a second. I mean, maybe.
Just because Dot said that, it's going to keep venting
right?
for forever.
Gosh, come on, vent, leave me hanging.
And Das, as you were talking there, that we don't think this is going to be the first one to get to space, but do a hop. And Thomas, you were saying, yeah, we do hope to see it hop eventually. And it's worth reiterating for everyone who just joined us that according to Federal Aviation Administration airspace closure notices, that hop will come no earlier than Thursday, the 21st of May, sometime between 12 and 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time in the U.S., which is 1700 to 2300 hours UTC.
and that is very much a no earlier than time. Obviously, they have to not only conduct the static fire, but then review all of the data from said static fire, make sure everything went well. If anything didn't go well, they might have to do another test. Even if it did go well,
Right.
they're going to want to inspect the vehicle, and if they want to take a little bit of extra time for that data review and to make sure they're fully ready to go before the hop, they'll push that hop date back. But that is the no
Yeah.
earlier than target.
Nice. I gotta do this from back in the studio. We have like our back channel where people give us little cheat sheets sometimes. They look up stuff. We have some information that, to the best of our knowledge, SN4 was first spotted March 23rd, and it was moved to the pad April 23rd. So you want to wonder whether or not Boca Chica gal is in tune with what's happening down there? She said it was about a month, and in fact, the dates that we have documented over here, it was exactly a month from the first time we think we spotted hardware used on SN4 to the time that it moved to the pad.
And
then,
just about 1 month further than that is
Yep.
when we're about to see a hop test. So
yep. Oh, wow.
So in other words,
Good job,
SpaceX
Mary.
took a prototype spacecraft from non-existent to flight ready in just about 2 months.
Gah.
Wow.
You know, usual caveat: this is a prototype spacecraft. It's not going to orbit, all of that stuff. But that even forget all that because this is still ridiculously impressive.
Yeah. No kidding.
I
I see.
often
I
say
see that
I
with the static fire not actually having happened yet. But you know, continue.
Yeah.
I often say that I wish I could just fast forward a little bit and get to all the cool stuff that's coming in the future. And with Starship and with all these prototypes getting put together so quickly, it's, you know, the rapid iteration. It just, you don't have to hit the fast forward button. I mean, I still kind of wish I could and see what Starship looks like this time next year. But yeah, I mean, this stuff's happening so fast. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Mary, looks like the wind is picked up. We were with you earlier today, and it was nice and calm. But is it windy out there right now?
I wouldn't say windy, but it's got a nice breeze.
All
Just a nice breeze right now.
The ocean breeze over there keeping you cool, hopefully.
Yeah, it's helpful.
And I think it's just enough breeze to keep all that condensation from the tank farm out of the way of the shot of Starship. So I think we're perfect.
Right.
There we go.
So again, I see that top vent is venting a little bit still, so we know, I think that's a good solid indication that fueling is underway. Obviously we're going to be waiting for frost to kind of appear on the outside of Starship, and some more condensation. We usually see some near the bottom of the vehicle. That'll tell us that we're getting really close. And then we're also waiting for that 10-minute warning siren that Mary will report to us, and that'll be our last indication there that a static fire is imminent. So those are the next steps we're looking for.
I'm actually preparing a diagram so I can circle what to look at.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm setting it up so that I can actually draw on this screen, which is why I'm going to be a little bit quiet for a second.
So what we're seeing here this morning, so what we're seeing here right now, if we go back to this morning when we were looking at their fueling attempt, this very much looks like oxidizer farm and propellant transfer line chill down operations, where everything is being cryogenically conditioned in the lines that will bring the liquid methane and liquid oxygen cryogenics to the Starship SN4 here. I mean, almost identical to what we were seeing. So good progress before we start waiting to see frost on the frost on Starship.
Yeah, and I'm still unclear as to what phase we see that frost. I mean, can the vehicle be tanked up quite a bit before we see frosting? Is there, you know, what kind of delay is there? That's the question that I would definitely have in my mind. Whenever we see the frost, is it, you know, being fueled right then? Is there a bit of a delay?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know off the top of my head. I don't think we've seen. Hello everyone.
Yes, we're here.
Oh, okay.
I think our preview is getting interrupted by
That's me
whatever you're
working.
doing.
Sorry,
Yes.
that's me working.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. No, because I said I don't know anyone, and then it was just utter silence.
Yeah. It's Das's fault. Das is working on things over here.
We're all
Blame
distracted
Das.
by the sudden lack of Starship on our little preview screen here.
Right.
If anybody's curious, I actually pipe a copy of what I'm getting from Mary into a Zoom call as a camera in Zoom, so that everybody who's talking can see Mary's output as soon as I get it here in the studio. So that's when I turn that off, everybody's like, "What? It all disappeared." I can get their attention really quickly by turning off their preview. My bad.
So we're getting a lot of condensation around the pipes there at the bottom. So I don't know if that's the start of fueling, but it definitely seems like some cryo liquid is now flowing in those pipes.
Yeah, something definitely changed
Definitely
there.
continuing. Yep.
So what's the next thing we're going to expect to see here? I mean, we have the tank farm going, we have the flare stack going. Once they start putting fuel into SN4, what are we going to see visually?
I think the next thing we'll expect to see is some condensation near the base of Starship. We usually see that right before the frost starts to appear. We can also be looking for frost, which is sometimes not as visible during these daytime tests as the nighttime ones. So that's another thing to keep an eye out for, but I think more venting in and around the vehicle itself is really what we're looking for.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right, Michael. Because I'm sorry, right, Thomas. Because we'll be seeing the little puffs, the little vents first from the COPVs, if I remember this morning correctly, and then we really start seeing the LOX tank start to vent as we get closer down to ignition.
Yeah, and about the COPV venting, we only really noticed that recently, like the last couple test windows, and I don't know if we just weren't noticing it earlier or if that's a legitimately new thing.
And have we gotten a good angle where we know that it's actually coming from the COPVs, or if they just happen to be positioned by vent valves on the side of the Starship structure there?
I mean, I think we've only seen it from these live stream views because they're only happening when we have to have the camera nice and far away. So I don't know if we've gotten any other angle than this one.
Oh, okay. So sorry. Let me rephrase. Do we know of have any of us seen other angles, like any, or noticed when we have up close photos of those COPVs if there are things there, like vent valves next?
Oh.
Know if it's them or Starship actually doing it.
Sorry, I thought you meant about venting itself.
Well, I was not clear, and it wasn't until you answered the question that I was like, oh, right.
Well, the one vent right now that's on at the very top, that tiny dot, that we believe is the methane tank, but not actual methane. We believe, it's a hypothesis, we think it might be some nitrogen being used to pressurize the tank while they start fueling it that's being vented. Obviously, they're not venting actual methane from that port, that vent area, because that would not be legal. You have to safely burn off the methane, so they pump it back to that flare stack. But just to the left of that vent, where the venting is coming from right now, at the top of the vehicle, that's kind of hard to see, but it's there. There's that black COPV. We've also seen some venting from that over the course of the start of testing over the last couple of attempts, and I have not seen that yet. I'm not sure if that's like a standard thing or what that's for.
I'm continuing my work here. But I'm just about ready for a test, actually. Hang on. I'm going to test something and see if anybody notices. Ah, it's zoomed in slightly. Well, that's okay. I can deal with that. This should allow me to draw on the screen. And so when we say we're looking for the venting from the top of Starship, it's right there. Yes, it worked. Haha. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. Do you see the little white pixel in the middle of my poorly drawn red circle there? That is actually a vent that is up at the top of the methane tank, and you'll see that see the white couple pixels appear and disappear as that sort of vents and equalizes pressure or whatever it's doing. There's another vent. There's another vent right in this area at the top of the LOX tank, and we haven't seen that one come on yet. That one tends to be a larger vent, like a larger bunch of pixels, I guess. And then we'll also have some venting happening down here on the side, and that'll usually come out the side like this. And we also see condensation coming out the bottom like that. So now I can actually draw on the screen. It takes me some tricks to get this set up this way. But that is what we are looking for. And of course, this is the tank farm over here. This is the flare. All right, it's zoomed in a little bit so you can't quite see everything. But good, good, good. Now that that's working, let's pop back at the other one.
I'm getting some serious, like, all the slight wiggling and the drawing on screen. It's
We weren't quite copying what you were saying there, Jack. Did anybody else get that?
Yeah, no, I got it.
It was
I got that.
I didn't get it either. No.
Yeah, you were breaking up there, Jack, for a second. We didn't copy what you said. Something about wiggling and drawing on the screen, I guess, right? I'll continue to work on that little bit of technology. I didn't intend for it to be zoomed in, but that's another trick I've got to set up, I guess. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the NASA Spaceflight live stream. We are watching a live feed coming from Boca Chica, Texas. That is Starship SN4, and we see signs that SpaceX may be proceeding towards fueling SN4. Hopefully, we would like them to do a static fire later today where they actually produce thrust from the bottom of the Starship SN4, the Raptor that's down underneath that thing. So that's what we're doing. That's why we're hanging out. Of course it's zoomed in. You're using Zoom. Har. That's hilarious.
All right, Dad.
And I mean, personally, I'm sort of staring at the bottom of the tank, trying to wait and see if we get a little bit of condensation coming out of the bottom, because that's a really good indication that they've pumped some cold liquid oxygen into the bottom tank. So that's what I'm personally keeping an eye out for right now. And that's correct. Stinko Brazil, it's only thrust. We are not expecting this prototype to intentionally take off today. This is not a hop. We are just expecting a static fire. So it's just lighting up the engine and producing some thrust. But we don't want it to go anywhere. We want it to stay right where it is. Right, y'all?
Right, exactly. If it moves, then something has actually gone wrong, because they are not ready to fly this thing just yet. It is firmly bolted down to that launch mount, and it's not going anywhere. Football Ian wants to know what location in Boca Chica is Starship going to hop. So it is going to hop from the launch mount where you see it right now. Again, it's not doing that today, but when it does hop, it'll start from right where it is right now, and it's going to fly, I believe, to the right from this angle. There's a landing pad that they'll fly up to 150 meters. They'll translate sideways a little bit, deploy the landing legs, and come down and land on a landing pad. So right there in Boca Chica, Texas.
Eric H., welcome to the red team.
And Rory wants to know, do we know why SN18 was swapped out for SN20? We don't. There's some speculation. Obviously, the SN18 was the engine used for 2 static fire tests, and I think there was some pre-burner tests and stuff in there. It did, fire a couple times, and it's possible that they just wanted to inspect it and see how the engine performed with that. and wanted a more fresh engine for the actual hop test, but no official word from Elon or SpaceX on that.
Hey, can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah, we got you, Jack.
Yeah, we got you, Jack.
Sound like we had some internet
Okay.
hiccups there or something. You went all robot and drunk.
Yeah, I tweaked it a little bit. Thanks. Sir.
Thank you.
Sorry. I was just making a bad joke about Clarissa Explains It All, the old Nickelodeon show with all the like the very hand drawn on the screen intro. Never mind. Time has passed.
Okay.
Um,
Clarissa Explains It All.
yeah, you ever watch that? That's 90s
I
kids.
remember that, Jack. Yes.
I mean, I guess I admitted to seeing The View on my TV here at home sometimes. So I'll allow Clarissa
fair.
Explains It All. Clarissa. Jeez.
That theme song is going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the week now.
Please do not sing it.
Oh, that's not. Yeah, that's one thing you don't have to ask me to not do.
Hey, Eric H., welcome to the Red Team. We appreciate the support over there. Thank you very much. Again, we're able to do these streams, y'all, because of y'all's support. We are burning data like it's going out of style, but we're waiting on getting some more equipment down there that will upgrade our data capabilities. But every time we do a stream, we're doing about 1 gigabyte an hour for the 1080p stream here, so it does cost us a little bit to get this thing going. But we appreciate. Oh, well, sorry, 1 gigabit an hour per modem actually. So we appreciate y'all's support so that we can keep on bringing these things on. CGX, welcome to Padrat, and Lucas Fabian. I never expected a Clarissa Explains It All space rocket crossover, but I guess I can mark that off my quarantine bingo.
There you go.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's perfect.
We've got a good question here from David talking about the FAA notice we referenced earlier, the temporary flight restriction for the 21st, and is asking, do you think it is the required approval for the hop? And the answer to that is no. There's a difference between a flight restriction and an experimental vehicle license or an experimental something. Do I have the term for that right?
Yeah, experimental permit, I think is the exact.
There you go, an experimental permit. So the temporary flight restriction just closes the airspace around the area so that they can conduct testing, and they have those for the static fire tests, although they're to lower altitudes. But that is just because they have put up a flight restriction for Thursday doesn't mean that the hop test is actually approved by the FAA yet. The SpaceX also needs a permit to conduct that flight because it's an experimental vehicle. Now, that doesn't mean that they haven't approved it yet. It's not, the list that we can see publicly isn't always super up to date. So it is possible that that approval has actually started or is complete already. We don't really know. So we're going to have to wait for some official word on that. But the temporary flight restriction is not the same as an approval for flight.
Yeah,
But they
it's
usually,
If that occurs,
but- sorry,
a lot of times. Go ahead.
Oh, I think we might be making the same point. My thing was like the formal approval might not be there, but those flight restrictions don't usually get issued unless unless the FAA is going to approve it. They just haven't dotted the I or crossed the T yet.
That is very possible. I mean, we've seen these the restrictions for even for the hop test up to that higher altitude. As soon as today, we saw one, which obviously they're not doing that anymore. But this isn't the first time we've seen a hop temporary flight restriction put up. But yeah, it is very possible that they're putting those restrictions up, either knowing that the approval is done, or they have like a path forward to like, yeah, we'll get this done by Thursday. So,
dude,
and I have to say,
yeah,
thank you to Gene for the 100 euros. That is very generous.
100 of those fancy E's that have like little extra lines on the middle of them, like futuristic fancy E's. Jean-Noel, you're gonna actually have to record how to say your name because I want to make sure we pronounce it correctly. Yeah,
I'm
right.
Sure I got that wrong.
Jean-Noel Castelletto.
Castelletto? Jean-Jean?
I think that was a solid attempt. I think that's as close as I would have gotten. So.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate. I mean, 100 euros. That is nothing to sneeze at. We appreciate the support there.
Also, Doug, keep the streams coming. I try to watch them all. Carrie, thank you for the super chat. And Lisa, thank you for doing everything you do. We appreciate the support.
Before I forget, on the topic of the FAA experimental permit, a thought occurs. A lot of times with experimental aircraft, you see the word experimental written on it multiple times, maybe even the word test flight, frequently orange paint. I don't know to what extent those are FAA requirements, but it sure would be cool to see like a big like experimental written across the side of
Orange
the Starhopper
striped
prototype.
Starship.
There
how
you
cool
go.
would that be? Put some international orange on there, big word experimental in black on top of it. That's hot.
That would be awesome.
I do want to note one thing about the current FAA experimental permit that SpaceX has. They do actually have one right now, and some people think that could be used for the hop, and that is not true. The permit specifically states this was the original permit for Starhopper, which is still active until July 20th. It states that SpaceX can perform one hop to 150 meters. They have already done that one hop to 150 meters. So unless there's like some sort of modification of that permit, is not useful for Starship. Additionally, there's a propellant load restriction of 30 metric tons at liftoff. So I don't know if that's even enough for what they're doing with Starship. So it's likely they're going to need a brand new permit to perform the 150 meter hop.
And Tom, we know that the painting orange is not a requirement for an experimental flight. We were just pointing out that that would be cool if they did that, but we're not expecting them to do that or anything.
I mean, it would be cool though.
It would be cool though.
SpaceX.
Lots of
We got-
people
we
correctly
got
pointing
venting
out there's some
we got
venting.
venting from the left side.
Oh yeah, left side venting.
Oh yeah, that's the gaseous oxygen coming out.
And
Hooray.
I
So,
think I can also see some condensation in the engine bay down near the bottom. So
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right.
Yeah, I've been looking
Yeah.
at that too. I wasn't sure if it was for sure, but yeah, it definitely looks like it.
So it's progressing forwards, right? I mean, we're starting to see the venting that we expect as they're putting fuel and oxidizer into that thing. So hopefully everything goes to plan. Are we expecting a siren here, y'all?
we should be about 10 minutes prior to static fire. We'll have a siren that Mary will relay to us.
We've got the omnipotent Ben Craddock in our Discord. Thanks, Ben, so much. He says left side venting traditionally T-minus 20 to T-minus 15. So 20 to 15 minutes out, somewhere in there.
We got a super chat from Doug saying, keep the streams coming. I try to watch them all. Well, we're glad you're tuning in, and we thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and I just wanted to address we're not expecting it to be painted orange. Let's say with like 50 to 70% of what comes out of my mouth, treat it as like fanciful daydreaming, and not any actual supposition of reality. I mean, when you're sitting here looking at the same thing for hours on end, and you're sleep deprived, you start to dream a little bit about what could be, and not necessarily about what will be. So forgive me for engaging in a flight of fancy for a little bit there.
We'll get you a new notifier for the screen that blinks flight of fancy whenever you start to.
There we go.
We have the rampant speculation and we have the flight of fancy warnings, I guess.
And 771 says, all this wait for 1 second to fire. Yep, that's pretty much it.
Yep.
That's the deal.
Are we starting to get the bands? Look at the frost bands between the welds.
So, right?
Yeah. You know what? Now that you pointed out, yeah, I think I can see that starting.
Let me see if
And
I can
Mary-
draw that for you right quick. Hang on.
Yeah, and Mary, what were you just saying about the deputy in our back chat? We may not have audio with Mary, but
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm here.
Oh.
I
oh
just
yeah.
couldn't hear
were
what
you-
you said.
Sorry, what were you saying about the deputy that you saw?
Well, one left a checkpoint and is stationed at the end of my street right now. So perhaps he's waiting, to be told to blast a siren.
Oh yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just
that's
sitting
good.
there. So
We got a super
hopefully
chat.
we're close.
Yeah, we got a super chat from the world famous John Krause.
Oh geez. Infamous John Krause? Which one was that?
World famous.
famous.
Oh, world famous. Oh.
Hi, John.
What's up, John? When are we going to get him on here to make snide remarks while we wait for 10 hours for an event to happen for 1 second?
Oh, but I,
Oh, he
the last time
joined
he
us
was in
in
our
a-
chat, he just wanted to know if hot dogs were sandwiches. So I don't know.
I don't know
Oh,
if we want
I
him on
think
here.
if we sent him the Discord link, he'd join in a heartbeat.
Don't give him the link, please. What's up, John? How's it going, dude? I'm gonna try this real quick, y'all. Let's see if I've got this working a little bit better than last time. So up to telestrate, a little bit of a zoom, and so here's what we're looking at right now. Do you see these tanks? Do you see how that tank right there is a little bit darker? And there's a line that's not exactly on that weld line there. It's a little bit darker right in this area right here, and then you have a weld line that goes across right there. That's what we're looking at, and we're thinking that that's the beginning of condensation. When you start to see lines appear on the spacecraft that don't match with the weld lines, that's a good indication that there's some condensation happening on the outside. So, again, we've got two tanks in here. We've got a methane tank up here. So this is going to be a methane tank, and then down here we have a LOX tank like that. And as we see these colors, you can actually see the darker lines right there. We're thinking that that's a sign that there's something colder than the outside atmosphere inside of those tanks right now. So that is that's what we're looking at. I'm just trying to practice the telestration here so y'all can see it, because I really do like the ability to show what's happening on the screen. But back to live, and it just zooms out a little bit. Good.
We got a super chat from Future Martian, who is no stranger to the NASA Spaceflight channel. Thank you for being such a trooper, Mary, helping get this amazing footage. Go SN4.
I like it. Go SN4.
So
Indeed, go SN4.
So
I just want to say there. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Go, Mary.
Go ahead, Mary. No, go ahead, Mary.
I just want to point out that there's a few SpaceX's showing up right now.
Aha.
There you go. That's another good sign.
Excellent.
Oh, very, very good.
Also, thank you to Dave for the super chat, David for the super sticker, and Ron. We need to get Mary signed up for the Starlink beta. Yeah, we've been talking about that. That is definitely something.
100% agree.
Oh yeah. Somebody tweeted Elon.
And a Gene in chat says Mary has to hit the siren button.
Mary, that would actually be cool if they let Mary hit the siren once.
We should just ship Mary an air horn, and she can fire off the air horn, and maybe it'll trick them into going, like, oh, we're ready? Push the button, push the button.
Oh, no.
So, if you're just joining us...
That's a big flare.
Yep, big flare.
There we go.
Yeah. Wow, sorry there, Jack. All of a sudden, that flare went crazy.
No, I was just going to do a recap, and then interesting stuff started happening.
Interesting stuff started happening. Nice.
Super chat from Analyst Joe Schmo. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it.
So yeah, if you're just joining us, we are watching a prototype space vehicle. Is that even the right word? I need coffee. We're watching a prototype vehicle being fueled, and we are waiting to see if they do a static fire. Static fire could happen very soon. We are waiting to see any indication that it's about to happen, but everything that we've seen so far is tracking with previous static fires that we've seen with this vehicle, including the large flare that we are currently watching. Is that gaseous methane, and then it's igniting partway through the cloud? Is that what's happening? That looks really cool.
That doesn't look good. That's not how flares are supposed to operate.
That doesn't look great.
So it looks like a situation in which the wind actually blew the pilot away, and then it was coming back through the sort of atomized methane. That's it definitely looked like it went out and it was doing like methane vapor out the flare there. That's interesting.
Yeah, it could
have also been the case that we didn't see you can't really see the methane flare in some conditions, right? Like maybe it's burning right there at an intensity that
we can't see
as visible.
Yeah,
but yeah,
wow.
It certainly looks like gaseous methane coming out of there from what we can see.
That's interesting. Y'all, we also have another special guest joining us. Shall I admit them?
I think you should.
All right. Well, I haven't done a technical check or anything, but I'm going to hit the button, and we'll let the audio spool up and see if we can potentially add another nerd to our cast of thousands. New nerd who's joined the stream. Introduce thyself.
Am I in?
You're in.
Yep,
You are
we hear
John.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Okay, I turned off the audio on my TV so there won't be echo.
Excellent.
All right.
What's up, John
Hey.
Krause? How are you doing?
I'm John Krause. How are you doing? I'm great.
that's how you're doing. You're John
Thanks for
Krause.
letting me pop in. Yeah.
How are you doing? I'm John Krause. Yeah, that's. I mean, to be
right.
fair, that's how he normally greets us. But
Come on.
Y'all, if you're watching and you don't know, John Krause is John Krause is an photographer extraordinaire who covers spaceflight. John, you've been doing this for years, right?
Yeah, I just crossed 5 years a few months ago,
Just crossed 5 years. No kidding.
which is weird because I'm 12. For me to be doing this almost half my life now is just.
You actually had a remote camera in the womb. It was really awkward. Oh, but John, thanks for joining us here. And with somebody, grab a link to John's Twitter so people can know who we're talking about. If you've seen cool engine shots coming off remote cameras, if you've seen cool shots where somebody is maybe standing in, I don't know, an alligator-infested swamp, taking long exposures, that's this guy right here, John Krause. So, yes.
I just dropped
Oh
a
my
link in
gosh,
chat. There you go.
You're too
Oh my
nice.
gosh,
Thank you.
That photo, John comes running up to me after one launch and goes, look at where I was, and he's waist or like chest deep in alligator infested waters in the middle of the night. And he was setting up his camera, and he's like, isn't that a cool picture? And I'm like, how are you alive? Don't ever do that again.
And I just have to throw this in there because we've already talked about that one picture so much. It was right after a lightning storm.
That too, yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, there's no other danger that I'm aware of that I was subjecting myself to.
Between the lightning and the alligators, there were no other dangers. All right then, Slacker. Jeez.
So between
John,
an open body of water, yeah.
I mean, that is a pretty.
That's just
standard
how you
thing
get your
for water, though.
superpowers.
I guess maybe the coronavirus originated in that swamp. I mean, who knows?
Somebody in chat
So
said
you're
certified
patient
mad lad.
zero?
I'm patient zero, I guess.
Jeez.
I wouldn't say that too loudly.
I'm kidding.
NASA Spaceflight, not responsible for. Anyways.
Spaceflight is not responsible for 12-year-old comments.
There you go. Did we get a waiver from John's parents allowing him to be on the stream?
Mom.
I'm on the internet again.
I'm pretty sure one of these days John's going to be out in a swamp somewhere for a photo, and like a little bit of radioactive something's going to get on him, and that'll be his superhero origin story. We've all been giving him so much guff for so long. That'll be our comeuppance right then.
Nick, thank you for the super chat. Nick says, drawing on screen makes DOS the John Madden of space.
Bam!
Whoa! There you go.
And Nick has also just joined the Pad Rat, so thank you for the membership. And analyst Joe Schmo says, I'd like to see a Space Force model with a sick paint job and U.S. Marines rappelling off the side with Dragon Wing flight badges. That sounds cool.
Doss is like drawing football routes on Starship. Here we see Starship doing a left slant.
I mean,
We're
I
not
can
seeing
do it.
Venting right now, though. That's weird.
It does look like that though.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you see the close-up photos from Mary, like on the rings, you'll see the doodles that the workers there do. I call them doodles. I'm sure they actually serve an engineering purpose, but yeah, it does kind of look like football diagrams sometimes. Says the guy who knows nothing about football.
Oh my goodness, I just gained a lot of followers on Twitter from that. Thank you for that shout out.
Take
There
that,
you
John
go.
Krause. Jeez.
They don't timestamp followers, but it says that I got 40 new followers above other notifications. So I guess that's from this. So thank you guys.
And we had a super chat request asking DOS to draw a nose cone and wings. Do you think we could do that?
What? A nose cone and wings? I mean, I could probably get a beefy arm in there, but I don't know about a nose cone and wings. You know, I honestly...
I got a serious
Go ahead.
strong bad vibe from what you were just saying.
Yeah, I don't think I have enough vertical space to draw a nose cone, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. The nose cone is actually probably out of frame if this Starship had a nose cone.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly, but it's out of frame. I need to zoom this out a little bit before I could do it. I mean, I could always get a little bit of a beefy arm over here or something. Maybe some wingly dingly dragon things. I don't know. Consummate V's.
E-Score says that's our thumbnail for the next Starship stream.
It's all fun and games until we're doodling on Starship when it static fires.
That would have been hilarious. Oh, we got a super chat from Emery Kelly. So this is where everyone is today. Hi, Emery. How you doing?
Hey, Emery. How's it going?
And y'all, I'm frantically moving some things around on my end. I'm not just doodling for fun, so I'm going to be quiet for just a few minutes here.
So yeah, it looks like venting has stopped. I think there's still condensation near the base, so still a fueled vehicle, but not a lot of venting. Is that top venting maybe?
I can't tell. It looks like perhaps. I know a very definitive answer.
Yeah, I know, but I think it might be venting from that very top vent still, and lots of activity with the fuel farm and stuff. So
Not a
still
lot
active.
going on with the propellant lines leading up to Starship. Oh my goodness, Starship.
And
there's,
that matches. Well, speak of the devil.
Uh-oh.
Well, a lot of venting now from the fuel farm there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Chris, I just
Still-
dropped some information for you in text chat.
And I see it. Thanks,
Cool.
man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Same as yesterday, or,
Yep.
or just number added?
I'll type.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mary, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I can see the frost line. That one that we typically can see about, what, 2/3 up?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I do see that. Look at that. There's a slight lighter coloring to that upper, what is that, the CH4 methane tank? Right at the base of where the methane tank would be, like that common bulkhead area. Is that what you're talking about? All right, well, that's hopefully a good sign.
We might have lost Mary.
Yeah. Again, y'all.
Now I'm back.
So based on y'all's support, we are getting more equipment down there to try and improve Mary's internet stability and that sort of thing. So we are frantically shipping things around, and it's just taking us extra time to get things shipped. So we appreciate y'all as we try to work through some of these issues. We know that sometimes it drops, right?
And thank you so much, everybody. I mean, we say it a lot, but it's because it's absolutely true. The amount of work that we're able to put in behind the scenes here in order to make this feed better, day by day, each stream, we make it better for the next one. It's incredible. Thank you so much for all of your support, because we would not be able to do it without it.
And can I chime in on that? Because I just want to say, like, as a non-NSF person, I recognize that. And they're not just saying it to try to hype you guys up. They really do put a lot of effort into this, and we all recognize it.
Thanks, John. Jeez.
You're a sweetie. Thanks, John.
I didn't know how to frame that eloquently. I kind of just spit it out because it's true, and I really believe it. But you guys do a great job.
Well, thank you, dude. We appreciate you saying that. Those are very kind words. We will try to live up to them.
We got a super chat from some guy with Canadian super chat, Nathan Barker. I think we might know him. He says, "Howdy, y'all."
Do we accept maple syrup bucks in this chat? I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like 5 maple syrups.
5 maple syrups. I think their money is plastic, isn't it? I don't know.
No.
It smells like maple syrup. It really does. I'm not making that up.
Wait, no, you're kidding, right? You're just being.
No, I'm really not.
Is
No,
it like Canadian dollars are scratch and sniff, and you scratch them and they smell like maple syrup?
I mean,
is that just because there's a lot of syrup there, or is it because it's an actual anti-counterfeiting measure?
I don't know, but it definitely did. I've talked with Nate about this, so he confirmed.
I don't know about everybody else, but based on our previous timelines that we've seen just the past testing, it should definitely not be taking that long. I mean, Ben in our Discord has been timing every single test pretty much, And what we've seen so far right now, unless they're like in a planned hold, this is longer than we would expect them from fueling to a static fire. So
It
clearly,
doesn't also.
yeah, go
It
ahead.
also doesn't. Yeah, there doesn't also appear to be any gaseous oxygen venting happening anymore
Yeah.
from
Right.
And
Starship.
earlier today, when they aborted, we saw a big methane flare right when that happened. At least that's what we think now, based on the data that we've gotten since then, that it was in
Right.
fact an abort. So that flare stack going crazy to the point that it almost looked like it was having issues might have been a let's start releasing fuel quickly or something. I don't
Right.
know. That's complete speculation, but it did seem to play out just like it did this morning, in my opinion.
And that is one of the primary functions of the flare stack, right? That flare stack, it's not there to try and keep SN4 warm. It's actually an emergency depressurization system where they can depressurize methane from some part of the farm or SN4, and instead of just spraying methane everywhere, they actually are required to burn it off, right? So when we see a big burst of flame like that, it's probably because they're depressurizing something. Not necessarily an emergency, but they might have seen something getting out of family, some number that was too high, and they said, whoa, we need to back the pressure off, and they release a bunch of that methane pressure into the flare stack and resulting in that huge flame. So that sort of tracks with what we're observing there.
There's a phrase
to Chris.
Go ahead.
Is that similar to the Delta 4's flame stack that we see at the Cape?
100%.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Just the only difference is Delta 4 would be a hydrogen flare, right? And this would be a methane flare.
Yeah.
But same.
We can usually see it from a couple miles away, like we can here.
Oh yeah.
So it's cool to see a similar process.
Yep. That's John. I was talking about. I grew up down in Corpus Christi, so a couple hours north of Boca Chica here, and we have refineries everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up within a couple miles of probably 10 or 15 of these flare stacks. But this is like a little baby flare stack. The ones down in Corpus at the refinery terminal are these massive, like taller than the Falcon 9s with a huge flame sticking on top of them. So I'm sort of a fan of seeing these flare stacks out there because it means somebody's doing something.
For sure.
And we got a new membership from Sam Halter. Welcome to Capcom. Appreciate the support. And E Square with the €20 super chat. Thank you a lot for the amazing commentary the last few weeks. It makes watching Starship even more special. Thanks as well to Mary for being out there and showing us this awesome footage every day. So thank you, E Square. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, E Square. This, like y'all have heard me say before that we can't do this without the financial support. But when people put in a nice message or something like that, that means almost as much as the dollars. You know?
Absolutely.
So we completely appreciate you there, E Square.
There's a phrase we use a lot, out of family. I haven't seen any questions about it in chat, but just for sake of discussion, anyone want to cover what we mean when we say something is out of family?
Yeah, I think Jack Baer would probably be a good person to Jack, what is... Talk about out of family.
Oh, okay. So, out of family just means based on all the data points that they have, they're seeing something that does not match what their data says is a normal piece of data. Now I feel like I'm saying the word data too much. Data. So yeah, out of family just means abnormal, I think would be the most concise way I could put that.
So like a pressure that's too high or something. It's just something that they don't want it to be, right?
Yeah.
And that can
or even like a valve not opening or closing as rapidly as they want it to, or it could be any number of things, but they surely track all kinds of metrics for everything on the vehicle. And if something is doing something that they don't anticipate or don't think it should be doing, I mean, that's obviously cause to stop, freeze, figure everything out, and proceed if safe only.
And that can also include things that aren't necessarily like out of spec, or like, the pressure shouldn't be any lower than this or higher than this. It doesn't mean that the pressure is actually outside that range, but the pressure might be different than what they were expecting at that point in the countdown. It's like, oh, usually the pressure goes to the lower end right now, but it hasn't. And so that could be considered out of family, even though nothing's really wrong, but they want to make sure, they want to understand why it's behaving differently than normal.
Right.
And DYU89 with the super chat, something, something, something. Oh, those were very kind words. We appreciate that. We thank you for the super chat.
They're kind of words, at least, I guess, right?
Hey,
Sorry,
John
Jack.
Krause, we've got a question for you in chat from
There
a
you
little
go.
earlier that I wanted to bring
Oh
up.
my goodness.
Bass wants to know, what did your road to a press license look like? Getting into rocket photography seems impossible without a press pass. Any tips?
Yeah, so I shot from public locations for about a year before I got on as press. And in all honesty, I think I got really lucky in how quickly I sort of fell into the scenario that allowed me to get on-site access. But generally speaking, I'd say just build up as much unique content you can from publicly accessible locations. Don't be afraid to go for unique shots that are going to make your work stand out. And then once you kind of have a baseline experience with that, then sort of look into contacting, various press agencies that may need additional coverage, and then go down that road. And I personally didn't partake in any, and I haven't yet, but the NASA social program is a great medium for people to sort of get into this field, get experience doing the kind of work we do. And it's an overall great program that sort of by NASA that sort of grants social media users access to what we cover.
There's a lot of times too where NASA social folks will get access that media doesn't.
Yeah.
And so there's times where NASA social people will either get more time at the pad, or they'll get up close with the vehicle, or they'll get interviews or a discussion with a certain employee, or there's a variety of things and opportunities available to you as not a member of the media. And that exactly, and John, exactly like he said, just start building up your body of work, and then once you sort of have a baseline, go from there. I think that's basically exactly what I did, is just started shooting things, and then eventually I had enough photos of rockets that were decent that I could then start to go around and say, hey, can I shoot rockets for you? And thank goodness Crispy said yes.
Yeah. And one thing I touched on a bit, but I want to really, really hammer down is, do not be afraid to take risks that could lead to more outstanding photos, rather than simply pointing your camera at the launch, snapping a few generic pictures, and calling it a day. Because even if you fail, you're getting experience to try for those more outstanding shots that'll help you stand out relative to other people. So don't be afraid to take risks. Go for things that you're not sure if they'll work, but just try to always make unique content, no matter if you have on-site access or not.
Like standing in an alligator. I keep almost saying elevator.
I wasn't gonna say that. I promise.
I was
but
gonna
you're
say
right.
it. Unique content standing in an elevator-infested swamp.
That's a
Yeah.
weird swamp, Das.
That'd be
An
really
elevator-infested alligator.
That would be really confusing.
Some of my favorite content is stuff I created off-site, and I genuinely believe that were I to make a portfolio of only non-press access stuff, that it would still stand on its own as a solid body of work.
Yeah, dude, I would completely agree with that. You have so many cool shots, and part of the fun of it, I guess, is finding a place to set up a cool shot from, and all the planning tools like Flight Club and stuff like that. And you scout out, you look for different locations you can go to that have cool framing or whatever. Like it's almost just an adventure in itself, coming up with your shots, right?
Exactly, and that's what makes it fun. And you spoke about Flight Club. What's kind of funny is that launch where I got that reflection photo, I think it was like the first, second, maybe third launch that I ever used Flight Club. And to this date, there hasn't been an image where Flight Club was more essential in ensuring I got the image I was after than that one launch.
Yeah. And so Flight Club, for people who don't know, Flight Club is a software that allows you to visualize on an AR sort of basis, so augmented reality, the trajectory that a launch should take before the launch actually occurs. So the photographers will go out to the field, and they'll stand in a certain location, and they'll bring up Flight Club, and they can look at Flight Club and put in their camera details and stuff, and Flight Club will tell them sort of where the rocket will fly from this perspective, so they can frame their shots before the rocket even flies, right?
Yeah, shout out to Declan with Flight Club, because it's integral to what a lot of us do. And I'm a patron. I believe, John, you're a patron as well. I mean, it's an amazing utility.
Yeah.
For sure, because before that tool, we had no reliable way of planning a long exposure shot to that degree of accuracy.
You just
So
sort of
it was a game changer.
this way, right?
Yeah, yeah. And what's
Yeah, I just
also great
posted-
about it is it sort of has elevated the floor, the potential of good shots for newer photographers. It basically gives everyone who uses it the ability to get outstanding photos. So it kind of elevates everyone's potential for the great shots they can get.
Yeah, before Flight Club, you kind of had to know from this location, it's going to generally go this high in the sky based on the last time I saw one of these, and it's going to look. It was a lot of supposition and experience and just raw guessing. And Flight Club takes a lot of that out of the equation, and it lets you do things like if there's a specific foreground element that you're trying to get exactly right under the streak, or if you're trying to line things up just right, very particularly. It's super awesome, and it's not just for launches. Also, it's for you can use it for Starlink passes. You can use it for a variety of different things. I know Declan, the developer, worked with Tim Dodd, Everyday Astronaut, to make the Yeet calculator, which is
Sorry to
superb.
interrupt,
So,
Oh, go ahead.
Some venting.
Oh, yeah,
venting?
double venting.
Double venting on the top. What's that mean?
Usually that is associated with detanking, so
Yeah.
something to keep in mind.
And we are what? We're about 1 hour and 9 minutes from the close of the window, right?
That is true.
4
yeah.
p.m. Central Daylight Time. So comparing that to the clock in the upper left-hand corner, just over an hour. And that is big double venting on Starship there.
chat is just filling up. Everyone's saying detanking, rip, it's over. We don't know that. I mean, it's not a bad guess based on what we've seen, but we don't know that.
Yeah. Our sort of standing policy is if there's a road closure and we're live, we try to stay live until the road closure goes away, right? So we don't want to get bit where it's like, oh yeah, geez, we know everything. That flame means they canceled, and then we go unlive. I guess we go dead. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what the opposite of live is.
No. We go not unlive.
We got not unlive. Nice.
Not unlive. Yes.
We turn the stream off in lay terms, and then we miss something. So as long as that roadblock is there, I imagine that we're gonna keep hanging out here, y'all. Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We do have a question for Mary. What are the SpaceXers who came out to watch doing, Mary?
They all left.
Oh.
All right. Well, so there you go.
Yeah, and it looks like maybe one deputy's leaving. They both got in their vehicles, so I'm waiting to see if the deputies are actually going to leave or what they're doing.
Yeah.
So is that crazy armored personnel carrier thing still there?
No, it didn't show up today.
That was just like a weekend show of force, bringing a full-on, like, it looked like a Border Patrol MRAP or something that they had. That thing was serious business. It had the armor plating, the up armor underneath it that's supposed to deflect IEDs. And why they have that down there in South Texas, I can't tell you, but jeez.
But it's really useful for not getting stuck in the mud around Boca Chica, so.
You know what my dad used to say? My dad used to say that thing will just get you stuck further back.
That's fair.
Oh, I was just going to say, he never did get in the mud.
They stayed on the pavement.
But they're the kind of truck that would.
I don't think he wanted to get it dirty.
That we had one of the armed forces days at my high school when I was in high school. And again, I grew up in South Texas, and they brought out a Humvee, right? And the army guys or whatever had this Humvee, and they were going to go tooling around in the mud. And believe it or not, they got their fancy Humvee stuck out in the mud out behind our football field, because it's Texas, so we have an American football field, right? And so they had to get pulled out by a tow truck in the middle of Armed Forces Day at my high school. You just get stuck further back in.
We had a super chat from Christopher asking if we're going offline. Not yet. We are staying live as long as, the pad is clear, the roadblocks are up, there's still venting from the vehicle, so we're not going anywhere just yet. Also a super chat from Paul Boyle. When you live stream the first launch from Mars to Earth, I'll super chat 500 euros. You've got yourself a deal.
I mean, I'm down. All right. What if we do two
Somebody
live
set like a
streams?
reminder or something for that, like the SpaceX bets kind of deal. Like
Yeah.
somebody set up a spreadsheet for these kind of things.
But
And,
again,
we also got a super chat saying, thanks a lot for the coverage, NSF. Oh, and join L2. So couldn't agree more.
hashtag join L2. Nice.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, it does look like they've aborted the static fire again. They have about an hour left in the window if they're able to recycle. If they do not have enough time today, they have another opportunity tomorrow between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. local time. So that's a bit more of a. It means that a lot of us won't have to wake up early in the morning, but it also means it's going to be another afternoon like today, where Mary unfortunately has to be out in the heat for a long period of time. So we appreciate Mary's effort to be out there in this almost 100-degree heat with humidity.
Yeah, it was what was it? It was 90, which is 32°C where Mary is right now, and she's in a vehicle, so she's got a little bit of a shade. But if you're ever down in South Texas and you're sitting in a vehicle when it's 90 degrees outside, it's almost like you're sitting in an oven. So hopefully that breeze keeps her cool. Is the breeze still blowing, Mary?
Yeah, it is.
Good
so we
deal.
do have to do a battery swap. Joss, I'm going to send you a picture if you want to show that when we do a battery swap. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you putting it in a Discord?
Yep.
All right, copy.
1 second.
While you guys do that, I'm just going to talk about the weather some more because you're right. It's not messing around how hot it is down there. I mean, I grew up in Florida, so I'm familiar with the muggy, humid Florida heat. And I frequent the desert out here, Death Valley and the Mojave Desert out in California as often as I can. So I'm no stranger. Oh, we got some, is it an RCS test in the bottom left or just a vent?
Did you
anyways,
catch that?
We're about,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an RCS. Yeah, look at that.
So testing
Yeah, it is. I
RCS
can hear it.
testing. There you go. They keep doing that near the end of these test windows.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. This
Actually, all right. Wild speculation warning.
Blink, blink.
I wonder if there is a correlation because they keep doing it near the end of the windows when they're detanking. I wonder if they're just burning off that propellant.
That's what I was gonna say. Right? Yeah, exactly. I wonder if that has some component to, the final draining all the little bits of prop out of there, and they, do it through that port for whatever reason. I would wager you're correct based on nothing at all.
But those don't look like hot thrusters, right? They've only got one line going to them. They don't look like they're combining two different types of fuel, like a fuel and an oxidizer. I think those are cold gas thrusters down there.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
So what cold gas are they putting through it? I mean, I don't know that you use liquid oxygen as a cold gas thruster, right?
You usually don't. What do they use on Falcon 9?
Nitrogen, right?
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen, thank you. Sorry, I was blanking there, but it could just be that. I'm not sure. The thrusters look different, so that's why I'm not really too sure on that.
They're testing a thruster for the next Roadster.
Nah.
And y'all, let me coordinate the battery swap right quick. Mary, are you ready for a battery swap?
Sure.
All right, you are clear to do the battery swap whenever you want. Go ahead. And I've brought up that other image just really quickly here, y'all. This is something, what are we looking at here?
That looks like a Crew Dragon spacecraft.
That does look like
a indeed looks like a Crew Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that if I'm not mistaken, might you could say be Demo 2's Dragon.
I would say that is a very decent chance. Yeah, that's a new photo from NASA we just saw. It looks like at the 39A horizontal integration facility. So there you go.
So Dragon has arrived.
That was on
I love
Friday
when
night.
That was on Friday night.
That was Friday night.
So yeah, so Dragon arrived on Friday night. There you go.
Do we,
I love when we
off
go
the top
from
of our head,
something-
have a conversion from this one Crew Dragon to RS-25s financially? Do we have that conversion handy?
Wait, what?
Shots fired.
And we all thank John Krause for joining the program today and wish him well in his,
The origami master over here. And I'm also listening for Mary. Mary, I'm standing by whenever you're ready.
We're back.
Okay,
Yep.
we're back?
Yep.
Alrighty. So let's swap back over here. Refresh that feed. Come on. Remote 01. You can do it. Just stand by. I'm refreshing Mary's feed here. There we go, and we're back
There
live.
we go.
All right, cool. Thank you, Mary.
And
Thanks,
we
Mary.
We got a super chat from Tim Cahoon, $20. Thanks, Mary. I love the commentary.
Excellent.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So yeah, just really quick about that dragon we were looking at. Oh my god, I just spaced out completely. Ignore me.
Ignore me.
You spaced out.
All right. I really enjoy that we go so rapidly from, we haven't even launched the first one yet with people on it, and yet the cadence is very apparent that the next one, we presume, is already showing up at KSC. So it's things like that where you can start to see the logistical and hardware pipeline start to extending out. We're not just doing one launch here. This isn't a token thing. We are going to launch many, many astronauts from American soil on et cetera, et cetera.
On American
and it's
rockets.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to et cetera through that, John.
John's not going to let you etc. through it. He's going to mouth the words as you say them.
Legend. Legend.
As he famously did within view of our boy Jimmy B, and Jim called him out on it.
That was one of the greatest moments.
I was at that.
That was my first. That was my first ever interaction with Bridenstine. And it went simultaneously way better and way worse than I thought it would ever go.
That's has to be one of my very favorite spaceflight moments that I can think of.
When I saw him point at me, there was like a 0.2 second gap before he said his funny statement. But I thought, oh my goodness, I'm never coming to this.
I'm getting
press site
kicked
again.
out.
I thought he was literally gonna point at me and say, "Get out."
Get out.
Time just like stop, like everything goes black and white, and you feel ice cold, and it's just like everything hits bullet time, and you go like, no.
Luckily, he liked my tweet about it later, so I think he established that we're bros, we're all good. Under the bridge.
It was a bonding moment where you mouthed the words of his catchphrase.
I'm gonna retweet that for anyone curious. I'm gonna retweet it.
Throw,
So if you go to my profile,
link in
at the
chat
top.
if you can. Throw a link in chat so people can experience the glory.
Yeah, and everyone.
What I could not believe with that though, John, was how well the rest of us kept it together when we saw that and didn't just bust out laughing.
And just to say, for anyone that's about to pull it up and watch it, I said it, or I guess I mouthed the words, and it was like a genuine, like, joyful thing. It wasn't to mock Jim. I love that he says that, and I think he's done a great job as administrator. And I think it's so funny, and I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where nothing ill happened. Nobody was making fun of anybody else. It's just kind of like a heartwarming moment where, two people.
Exactly.
I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah, and I imagine all of the press there, like Chris and everybody else, just like in the moment. Did that just happen? Did that just happen?
Yeah. Yo, let me do this.
I made some astronauts laugh, so I guess I won. That's all.
You did something right.
There you go.
Really quickly, let me do this. We have less than an hour left in the road closure window here. So if SpaceX is going to do something, we're still standing by. Current situation at the tank farm, we're not seeing a lot of venting from the tank farm. We're seeing what we think may be thruster tests at the bottom of SN4, but I'm also not seeing a lot of vapor coming off. The venting from the sides and top of SN4 have sort of simmered down. So we don't think that right now we have a static fire imminent, right? Does everybody sort of concur with that based on what we've seen?
Correct.
I concur.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're still continuing to hang out and sort of watch what's going on, but I've got this queued up. Haha! Let me see if I can play this real quick. That's why I was doing the status. I don't want anybody to think that we're ignoring what's going on the screen, but here's what we're talking about this moment from the press conference.
Because we will launch American astronauts on American rockets from American soil. And I see you mouthing the words because I'm going to keep saying it. It's overdue. And this because we will launch American astronauts.
So
Called out. Called right out.
Called out.
That was right before the exciting orbital flight test by Boeing and United Launch Alliance, for anyone curious.
There you go.
That's what you want in a
geez.
boss, though, or a leader. You want someone that's not gonna just like hide from things like that. You want someone that jumps out and recognizes things that are out in the
Yeah.
open and obvious. Like, yeah, it's a catchphrase, aha, and then continues on. That's the mark of a good leader, if you ask me.
Yeah, and John, I caught that retweet
was
and I
so
put a
good,
link to
yeah.
that tweet in both the chats there. So if y'all want to go and replay that or make that your ringtone or something like that, there is a link to the tweet.
Over the past couple months since that happened, I've been thinking if there's a possibility at Demo 2 that there's some press conference where he's there and I'm there, it's going to happen again. But, with the pandemic and who knows how the press conferences are going to be handled, they're, mostly online lately. It might be a little longer before we can recreate that.
We had a couple super chats come in real quick. Smolders says, this and the 27th, good times, hashtag join L2 lifetime. So yeah, we're all looking forward to Demo 2 and obviously join L2. And then Nick wants to know how much fuel/resources are wasted on aborted tests.
Whoa! Look! Have we seen a vent from there before?
I haven't.
That's like a right-hand side vent. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt there.
No, it's good.
It reminds me of Starhopper a lot. It reminds me of a Starhopper style vent. I don't know what or why, but that looks uncannily like Starhopper did.
That's
on the
weird.
pad.
That's a long vent that has a tail as well. A lot of times when the top vents vent directly at the camera, they don't have that tail that comes off the side, but that has a tail. Somebody said, we've seen vents for 2 days now, Das. Why are you so excited every time you see a vent? This is a different vent. This is a different vent. Somebody pressed the confuse the media button.
Oh, that's funny.
So I wonder what that means. I completely just cut right in because I saw something new and weird on the screen. So
Right.
Thomas, sorry about that.
That's awesome.
No, you're good.
And because the two streams today are already blending together, man, is the confuse the media button a reference to this stream or the one from earlier this morning?
I don't even know.
I don't
Because I honestly can't remember.
It was
when
today.
we
I
got
can
onto
confidently
that. It was
say
today.
that
I know
today.
that. Yeah.
Well, it harkens back to the forklift operator who honked the horn at us, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe
out to
SpaceX
forklift
has
guy.
meetings where they try to come up with ways to confuse NASA spaceflight.
That's funny. Dust, I put something into Control Center. You have to scroll up a very tiny bit
Sure.
to get to it. I don't know if it's worth... I mean, I'm going to mention it anyway, but if you want to bring it up on screen, you can.
Yeah.
We have discovered via Flight Radar 24, a special delivery is inbound to the Kennedy Space Center right now, we think.
Really?
Yeah, we've got a Antonov AN-124 from Huntsville, Alabama, and if I were a betting man, I would guess that there is an Atlas V booster on board.
Ah.
And the next Atlas V launch is going to Mars with the Perseverance rover. So I'm, not
That's
confirmed
right. They
yet.
do
But we're working
sometimes
on it.
airlift them in instead of using the ship. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we knew that the rocket ship that they normally use has been pretty busy delivering a Delta IV cores over to Vandenberg. So I think this was as part of
still
to compensate for that.
I think it's still in the Pacific, isn't it?
Exactly. So I
rocket
think
ship has
it
come
wasn't
back
able
there,
to get this transport in. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
That is exciting.
That's a big dog too, right?
Yep, big cargo plane.
Hey, can you pull up the file flight path? I might be able to fire up our camera in solo. It might come over my house.
What?
Let me look it up. Hold on, because the Flight Radar doesn't have the whole flight plan. But if I go to Flight Aware,
yeah.
Fair warning, it is pretty cloudy. We do have a storm system coming through, but if it's close enough, I'll give it a try.
Oh, that would be amazing, Chris. I mean, if it flies to where you can see it.
Yeah, I just made your day.
Yeah, I've already got you configured on Remoto too. I'll just make sure that I'd be able to bring you in really quickly here. But
here we go. Yeah, it's going to the skid strip. Hold on, I'll give you a link, Chris.
Yeah, just throw it up in Control Center.
You got it.
Yeah, and I can pull your solo whenever you turn it on, Chris. So just let me know. But if that's something you're gonna do, I'll jump out. All right.
Yeah. Let me just find the flight path first before we get all super excited.
You'd probably see it for longer than we saw yesterday's Atlas launch.
That's a very long
Chris, you good?
Yeah, if they if they follow the path they're on, which they have been since they went around the storms in Alabama and Georgia, if they follow exactly what they have, it won't be visible from my house.
It will not.
It will not. No.
We'll plug in the solo anyways. You already told us
But
that you
I
would
am.
try.
I am, Das. I am. Just in case. I know you've trained me well.
It's like so chat, there's sort of an inside joke here because I'm always telling people that I want to bring up remote video feeds. So we have this one feed that's coming in from Boca Chica right now. But I'm a huge fan of like, oh, let's check in with Das, who's up at Wallops while we're live from the Cape, because we have this capability to bring in remote video feeds from all over, like we're actually some sort of news agency, right? So anytime there's an opportunity to do that, I am all about it.
We've got some super chats. Carl Lobola, I'm always happy to support your awesome work, even with a small amount. Keep it up, guys, and thank you, Mary, for the great views.
Yeah, absolutely. In small amount, John, you never have to say anything like that. Every little bit adds up. You know, if every person did like $1, we would have like 1/10 of an IR camera because they're really expensive.
Yeah, we did look into it.
I've been Googling it.
Asking. Astra6, is there any possibility that they could test rapid refueling to static fire to replicate what it would be like for either orbital refueling or for rapid reuse? Could be a dumb question. No such thing as dumb question. But
no.
Thanks, anyone? Guesses? Wild speculation, maybe?
I just want to throw in real quick. No such thing as dumb questions, but I can challenge that.
You'll give it a run for its money?
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's not try.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. In terms of,
I don't think this is how they would want to do it. I mean, the bigger test for like orbital refueling and stuff is going to be actually docking things in orbit. I'm not sure testing the ground support equipment's fueling capability is super helpful for those purposes. Plus, you know, as far as rapid reuse goes, it's going to be more about landing it and then fueling it as fast as you can rather than detanking and retanking.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a connection there. I won't rule it out, I guess, but it's not a connection I would make.
Yeah, I'd make the comment that we have a lot of experience pumping fuel around on the ground, right? The ground's equipment and getting a rocket fueled and detanked, there's a lot of experience in that. And we don't have as much experience, or really very much at all experience, pumping fuel around in orbit. It's just not something that's done very frequently. There's some ideas about refueling satellites and the ISS getting propellant replenishes via progress and that sort of thing. But we don't have a lot of experience as the human race, I guess you could say, pumping fuel around in orbit. So I don't know that doing things on the ground for tests like this would really help with that. But it certainly helps them learn the vagaries of doing stainless steel at this scale, moving this volume of fuel around in this environment, the hot, humid Texas, same as sort of Florida. They learn something every time they do it, right?
Yeah, I would say it's even worse than Florida. But yeah, they do. They have to learn every time they do it, right?
Neither of them are a dry heat, right? They're both I guess wet heats. I don't know. They're both hot.
Hot and humid. Yeah, I will take a dry heat any day of the week.
Lucas says, "Where's that Russian guy from Armageddon? He knew how to pump fuel in space. American parts, Russian parts, all made in Taiwan or China." What's this, with the quote there? I didn't get the quote right, did I?
I am not the gas station.
I am not the gas station. Yeah. I don't do accents, really.
Super chat from Drum. Years from now, remember back then when we were watching steel tube venting for days and guessing what did it mean? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for the super chat.
It's almost like reading Starship tea leaves here, right?
Yeah. And we've got a chat from Torin for the Chris B Accent Fund. Looking to get Chris B back on the stream. He was on this morning. And super chat from Joel also. Thank you so much for the super chat, everyone. We really do appreciate it.
So what are we down to? We're just about 45 minutes remaining in the window here.
Yep.
I think.
Are we good on battery power until then?
We just did a swap.
Yeah. Okay. So we're good. Just making sure.
Yep. And I'll go ahead and verify the data as well. So, like, I'll explain to everybody. I'm not embarrassed explaining things like this. When we first shipped the broadcast kit down to Boca Chica, we were anticipating doing like 2 or 3 hours of streams a month, right? So I actually put together pay-as-you-go modems where you wouldn't have to pay for unlimited data when you're just streaming for a couple hours. And lo and behold, we got down there and we fired up a stream from Boca Chica, and suddenly 5,000 people showed up to watch the tank get fueled. Right?
Can I interrupt?
Sure, go.
Absolutely.
They're opening the road.
Oh.
Oh no. All right.
Yep.
Well.
They just moved the barricade over, and roadway is opened. Yes, Tesla has went to the launch site.
Gotcha. So y'all, that's Mary there, Boca Chica gal, reporting that the road is opening, which is a pretty darn good indicator that we are done with testing for today. Everybody concur there?
Yeah, and the important note from that is that now that no static fire has occurred today, this is very likely going to translate to a delay to the hop as well. We know the hop was, very much no earlier than Thursday due to the most recently published flight restrictions, but it's very likely that's going to slip at least a day as the static fire slips as well. So everyone just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So that's one of our indicators here. We know that when that road opens, they have spooled down. You can see cars on the screen right now. When that road opens, they have spooled down operations. They can't be dealing with the dangerous methane, pumping it into Starship there while the public are driving by. Because remember, that's a beach access road. That is the way that public down in South Texas gets to part of Boca Chica Beach. So when they close down that road, they are completely closing down part of the seashore there. So once that road opens up, we know that that is a good indication. And it just goes to show, right? Some people have asked, why don't we put up a checklist or something? Why can't you tell me what time this test is going to occur? You never know. A big flare coming out of the flare stack, that might mean that a static fire is imminent, or that might mean that they had to depressurize something rapidly and they're going to recycle something. We are always playing roadside rocket science here, watching what we see on the camera, trying to guess based on our experience what's going to happen, but we do not always know exactly what's going to happen. So we try to be careful. We have rampant speculation sometimes, but when it comes down to, well, this test is going to happen at this exact time, SpaceX does not provide that. They're playing it by ear. They're doing it live as they do these tests, so we never know how a test is going to go. But looks like some sort of a system or something went on that they didn't like, so they did not progress they did not progress all the way to the static fire here today. So, does that mean we're calling it here, y'all?
Well, I mean, we're pretty sure nothing's going to happen now. The vehicle's been detanked and everything, so I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah. Anything else? Do we still have Chris G on the call? Chris, are you still there? He may be muted and/or outside setting up a solo. Muted. Yeah.
You can see a car going to the pad now on the feed.
Yep. So
well, we should thank John Krause for joining us.
Yeah, dude, John.
Thanks for letting me hang out. It was fun. Just remember, even if we didn't see a static fire today, the real static fires are the friends we make along the way.
Remove user from call. Where's that button? No. There it is. More.
Is Mary accessible at this time? Can she hear us?
Mary,
yes,
you there?
I'm here. Yes.
I've never told you this directly because I don't think we've actually spoken verbally, but thank you so much for your hard work and effort that goes into this. It doesn't go unrecognized, so really thank you.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. Very nice. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, again, y'all, John Krause, rocket flight, spaceflight photographer extraordinaire, purveyor of fabulous streak shots and engine close-ups and other flight-related photography shenanigans. I guess I can call it that because there are alligators involved sometimes. But one more time, let's shenanigans. Let's put John's Twitter link in chat one more time over here. If you want to keep up with other people who create awesome space content, John is somebody you don't want to miss.
And someone asking if we're going to be covering Starlink tomorrow. No Starlink launch tomorrow. Now that has been pushed to after demo 2. So the next time you'll probably see us live is probably whenever Starship testing ramps up again and whatever their next attempt will be. So stay tuned for that.
Tomorrow, right?
No earlier than tomorrow. Yeah,
no
obviously
tomorrow.
We don't know what the issue they were working is, so it depends on how quickly they can resolve that. But potentially tomorrow, sure.
Yep. All right. Well,
Okay.
go ahead.
Hey,
Yes.
Das, am I here?
Yes, you're here.
Okay, awesome. I am spooling the. Yep. So it's everything's connected. I'm going to go outside and see if I can see the plane
So
carrying
Chris,
Atlas.
status update for you. They have opened the road at Boca Chica.
Okay, so do we not want to try?
Can anybody guesstimate how far the Antonov is from Daytona? I mean, I'm game to hang out.
It's like
I would
10,
say
20 minutes.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe 30 miles, 50 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, if you're willing to go outside and spool up the solo, chat, y'all want to see if we can see an Antonov fly over Daytona, Florida? I mean, I'm game. And if anybody
no
needs
guarantees, but
Yeah. If anybody needs to pop off the call, we can keep the Starship thing up, and then if we get eyes on the Antonov, we can switch over to that feed. I mean, chat says yeah.
I'm down to hang out for a couple extra minutes, see if we can spot a rocket plane, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't
guess.
really like planes, so.
No.
Mary.
Yeah, Jack, I definitely don't like planes. You're right.
Mary, are you okay with that? Are you okay with another 10, 15 minutes here?
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, we will leave your camera up as the primary. And Chris G, when you are starting to push on that solo, let me know, and I'll verify I can get the feed here.
Okay, Das, it's pushing right now. Actually, it's already up.
All right, thank you. Let me see what I got.
Somebody in chat, I've lost their name. They said they thought they could see it from Jacksonville, the Antonov.
All right, so.
Joshua
it
Green.
came right over Jacksonville, yeah.
And this is the AN124, correct? It's not
Yep.
the big boy, but it's still a big boy.
Not the big boy, just the big boy.
Got it.
Oh,
It's
we see
still
your
a massive
backyard.
plane. Yeah. Hey!
Hey! Live from Chris G's backyard. Don't point at any street signs, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chris, when you get that shot framed up, pointing up at a cloud or something, let me know. But we are receiving your video, and we see trees and clouds right now.
Okay, good. That's what you should see in like a shed.
Yeah, the shed. You got a little, like a she shed thing back there. Luckily, it's not on fire.
Rocket shed.
A rocket shed.
It's a rocket shed.
All right, so
Okay, I'm looking up at the clouds right now, and I've got
Right.
Flight Aware up to see.
Yeah,
what
you've got a little bit still, so.
Yeah.
good deal. And
Yeah,
y'all,
actually,
we're gonna
Thomas,
keep
if
watching.
You could keep watching that and tell me. That would be
Yep, you
great.
got it.
Looks like it's descending. It's at 18,000 feet right now.
Yep.
So it has started its descent into Kennedy. Yeah. Oh, this could be good. This could be good.
I hope this could be really good, actually.
Yeah.
Let's see. We can actually do this, and there's the FlightAware flight track on the screen, and you're just you're Daytona Beach, right, Chris?
I am indeed. Yes.
Okay, so that is the Antonov that we're tracking. That is a camera pointed at the sky, and it is making its way down here to Daytona Beach. So that is we have cameras all over the place. Welcome to NASASpaceflight.
And yeah, if you're just joining us, what we're looking at is a scrub to Starship testing. However, we're staying live for a bit because we're going to try and catch a glimpse of the Atlas V booster that will very likely launch the Perseverance Mars rover I was about to say the Mars rover to Mars, obviously. The Perseverance rover to Mars. We believe that is what's on board this aircraft. It's headed to Cape Canaveral from Huntsville, where ULA has their factories. So we're going to try and catch a glimpse of that.
Yeah, gotcha. So again, y'all, I know if you're watching on mobile, this may be hard for you to see because there's only so much screen real estate we have. If we get eyes on it, I'll make the video full screen. So we'll make the Antonov video full screen if we get eyes on said Antonov.
What looks like it is good is that it looks like the flight path kind of changed a little bit,
Yep.
and that it will do its hook out to the west a little bit further south, which is good for my viewing here.
Gotcha.
So,
And Chris, you're looking at FlightAware, like you know the right direction to look and stuff, right?
yeah, it's pointed in. I mean, the camera. Hang on, the camera. That's what I'm looking at. So it looks like it'll be coming. General direction. Flight
that-
path holds.
With the sun there, that's sort of west, right?
That is, yes, to the west of where I am. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, and look at this. Brendan Gleason over here says, this is the height of nerddom. Everyone still watching gets their nerd badge today.
Yeah.
Agreed.
How many people did we keep?
Let me see.
Well, we've got
1,600
1,600 people
Yeah, still
waiting to see an
1,600.
Atlas on a rocket, so
Nice.
Atlas on a plane. Jeez, I can't
Yes, I
speak.
know. I almost missed it in my seat. I had to go back and be like, oh.
I just
But just
posted a
remember,
link in
if we-
chat of
if we
the
can't
wiki
see it-
page for the Antonov.
If we can't see it, the real Antonovs are the friends who make along the way.
Oh, brother.
We didn't kick. I thought we kicked this guy from the call, Dos.
You know
Come
we
on.
change the Zoom link every call, right?
No.
I'm just gonna pop it tomorrow unannounced.
Oh.
Can I beat the horse to death one more time and say that the real Zoom calls are the friends who make a lot?
Here we go. Jeez. And go ahead, Chris. What were you saying?
Where do you guys see it on FlightAware right now?
It's going over Favoretta in Ormond by the Sea,
Okay.
north of you.
Okay. Ormond
That's
by
still
the
north
sea.
of you.
Okay, Ormond by the Sea. That's beachside. Okay.
Yeah. But it's still, I
Okay,
mean,
so
it's
maybe
coming
not.
right down the coast.
Okay, then let me readjust the camera real quick.
All right, gotcha.
I've also got it down to 13,000 feet, so it's getting lower.
Okay, good. So just let me know when it does that hook to the west.
All right.
Will
We're
do.
watching. And again, y'all, we don't know for sure if we're going to be able to see this. We just had an opportunity. Chris G has the Solo, the broadcast unit, down there in Florida that we use for covering Cape Canaveral things. And we saw this Antonov on FlightAware carrying rocket equipment, we think. And he went out to his to the street or backyard or something like that. And we're going to see if we can catch a glimpse. But no guarantee we're actually going to see this. But we'll see.
So it was over Ormond by the Sea. Okay.
Yeah. And I can actually
Okay.
get you a...
It should
Chris,
be
we have
over
someone
me.
saying it's right over I-95.
Yeah, it's right over I-95, right.
Right over I-95.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps. Yeah, thank you.
And it looks like it's going to pass directly over Daytona International Speedway.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it'll be close.
Yeah.
They heard NASCAR was back and they wanted to win a race.
I wonder how many NASCARs you could carry in a 124. A lot, probably.
I wonder how many you can carry on a Starship.
There you go. That's
I wonder how many RS-25s it would. No, I know.
Oh. So it's now, Chris, it's now between I-95 and the coast, and it's just crossing Florida 40. I don't know if you know what exit that is. There, it just turned its, it just did its turn.
Florida 40?
Yeah.
Said? Oh, yeah, that's Ormond. That's north of me. Yeah.
Yep. So it just started the
It did
turn.
Start its turn.
Let's see here. It's still over. I mean, it's going to cross I-95, but it's basically crossing the Daytona Beach exits for I-95 here shortly. In Relic Origins, no, we're watching it fly over. We don't know if we'll be able to see it from here, but we figured we'd try. And Chris, we lost you a little bit there.
Right. If it turned and it's west and it's going west of 95, that's not great for my viewing location
Gotcha.
and the tree line. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's approaching the exit for Daytona International Speedway, but it is it's just crossed 95, and it's sort of to the west of 95 right now.
But yeah, I think it's too low and it's too far to the west. It would be just behind the tree line there.
Yeah.
So maybe where we'll get in there if
Yeah.
we get to.
It's about to cross 4, I-4 that goes over towards Orlando. We're looking. If there's a chance from seeing it where Chris is, we'll keep our eyes open, but no guarantee we were going to be able to see this because it did that dog leg and turned out from over where Chris is. Somebody said, climb on your shed.
Well, actually, hang on. You're
And some people saying that FlightAware may not be, or Flight Radar may not be real time.
Right.
It
yeah,
may be minutes
it won't
behind.
Be. There's a bit of a delay.
Yeah. So like me saying, oh, it's crossing this right now. Like I've never tried to sit at the road and see what the delay is, but that's a good point. So It's now pretty well south of Daytona, Chris. So I think that dog leg kept us from seeing it there. It looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut down that video feed. Okay, Chris.
He probably can't hear, given how Zoom gets
Yeah.
when you have a like slightly lower connectivity. It's probably coming through like robot for him.
Yeah.
If it hears this at all.
So hey, I just got back. I had to move the camera out of range of the Bluetooth headset, but if we're gonna see it, it would be in frame.
Yeah, and it looks like it should be well past the Daytona Beach now, Chris. So I think we weren't able to see it from your vantage point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we gave it our best.
We did. I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you for taking the solo out and seeing if we could get a shot of that.
Hopefully, ULA or NASA will share some images of it arriving at Cape Canaveral, as they usually do when a booster arrives, especially for a big mission. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get something from there. But we tried.
Yep. I mean, I'll say this, and I bet you John Krause and photographers can vouch for it. If you don't get the camera out and try to take a picture of something, that's the only way to guarantee you're not going to get the shot, right?
It happens every time. If you
Yep.
don't get the camera out, the event happens and it's spectacular.
Oh yeah, it would come right over my house.
It would've-
like it was landing on it. Yeah. Like,
The Antonov would have done a barrel roll right over your house with the rocket stuff inside of it if we hadn't brought the camera out. And you would have been like, "What's happening? It's so loud," and we wouldn't have been able to see. So, Chris, we appreciate you going outside there and spooling up that camera feed.
Can I share a quick
all right,
camera
my pleasure.
anecdote?
I'm gonna go get it all broken down and in now.
Cool. Copy, Chris. Thank you.
John, what was that?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I said, can I share a quick camera anecdote about being ready for shots?
Sure.
The spectacular Vandenberg Falcon 9 launch a few years ago, SAOCOM 1A, where there was a spectacular post-sunset plume. I had my camera all ready to do a long exposure from a beautiful hill overlooking the launch site from a few miles away. And in my preparation before the launch, when I was shooting test exposures, I didn't realize that right before the launch, I was in the process of shooting a test exposure.
Ooh.
So when I thought I was starting the launch exposure, I ended a test exposure. I watched the entire sequence for 8 minutes and pressed the button again and started the exposure after everything ended. So when I didn't have the camera ready, the event happened. It was spectacular and I missed it.
That to this day, that's the coolest launch that I've ever seen. I've never seen a launch that cool, and
I
I'm
know.
so sorry
It was
that
incredible.
happened to you.
God,
It was
and
almost incredible enough to make up for not getting the shot.
so that's
And
like
that
a,
exact thing happened to me like a couple months ago. I was shooting a Minuteman launch at Vandenberg, and I was in the middle of a test exposure. And with Minuteman, you don't have a T0. You just sit out there and wait, kind of like this. And it went, and I was in the middle of a test exposure. And yeah, that's just the way that it goes sometimes. And shameless
brutal.
plug, I'm going to post a photo of my streak shot that didn't fail from the top of a mountain. First West Coast RTLS.
It was a beautiful
yeah,
shot. I remember it.
Thank you. But yeah, that's the kind of trial and tribulation that we go through with this sort of stuff. I mean, if you don't have the camera ready, sometimes really cool stuff happens. It's like you got to tempt fate and be like, well, my camera isn't ready. Just like say it out loud, even if you're ready. Like, I'll never be ready in time, and hope that fate hears you. And
But I will say, despite that little error with my camera, the real amazing photos are the friends we make along.
Oh
the way.
my
oh my
God.
gosh.
oh my
And
God,
on that
get
note-
out.
Oh,
And on
Get
that, I'm muting and I'm done.
I'm actually removing you from the call. Goodbye.
All right, bye everybody. Thank you.
See you, John.
Bye, John.
All right, folks, once again, that was the voice of John Krause, one of the many talented spaceflight photographers with the remote shots and camera angles and streaks and all the cool stuff that you see coming from launches all over the place, honestly. So rolling it back to Starship here, status update on Starship. It looks like the static fire has been canceled for today. Around about 15-20 minutes ago, they did in fact reopen the road going out to Boca Chica Beach. So we know that we are not expecting any more action out there at Boca Chica. We kept it on while we were waiting for that Antonov to maybe fly over Chris G down in Florida, but we are not expecting anything else from SN4 at Boca Chica today. So I believe that is us stopping our stream here, right? We're going to go ahead and spool it down, And look for y'all tomorrow when we come back. If there are things happening in Boca Chica, we will expect to be live as well. Because Mary, would you expect to be out there if they're doing something at Boca Chica? This is the dumb question.
Absolutely. I sure will.
You know how we said there were no dumb questions? That right there was a dumb question. But keep in touch with us in the meantime. Let's go around the horn one more time. Everybody, give me your name and give me your Twitter handle so people know who they can keep up with in the meantime when we're not live. Start off with Thomas. Thomas, go ahead.
Sure, I'm Thomas Burkhardt, writer for NASASpaceflight. You can get me on Twitter at TGMetsFan98, and I'll be posting constant updates about Starship testing and when we're going live again for more testing.
Gotcha. And Jack, you there?
Yep, I'm Jack Beyer. I am a photographer, videographer, reporter for NASA Spaceflight, and I just posted my Twitter link in the chat there. It's the Jack Beyer on Twitter and Neon Heat Disease on Instagram.
Excellent. And I know that Michael Baylor is offline right now. He's here with us, but Michael Baylor also helping with a ton of the live stream production behind the scenes here, all our overlays and graphics and stuff that you see. You can find Michael Baylor over there at Next Spaceflight, right? And I'll put that link into chat. Like that right there. There's Michael Baylor. You should already know this one, honestly. Boca Chica gal, right? If you are a fan of what's going on down in South Texas, you cannot miss Mary, Boca Chica gal right there. And Mary, I got a Twitter link in chat over there so people know who they should already be following, all right?
All right.
We also had Chris G on, and Chris G was Chris G _NSF. And I know that he is packing up that solo, but there is Chris G's link. We got John Krause in there. We had John Krause, and he just got off the call. And finally, I'm the host over here. You can find me on Twitter at K-Space Academy. You can also find me over on Twitch on occasion. These days, a lot of this coverage is also simulcast over to my Twitch channel, but that is me. And if I could spell K-Space Academy, I could be
Yes,
able to
I know we thank
make
Mary a lot. We really do, and I know we all mean it, but I also just want to take a moment and thank you so much. You are the technical glue that keeps all this running. You're the person we run to when we need troubleshooting. You're the brains behind all of these, all the machinery here. So thank you so much for taking your time to help us get all this stuff spooled up. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I appreciate you, Jack, but I could sit here with no video being pushed to me and it would be a really boring stream. So it's definitely a team effort that makes all this stuff happen, like the entire NASA spaceflight team and the guests that pop on. I'm happy to be a part of the group so that we can share this with people. So thank y'all. Once again, everybody joining us, thank y'all for the support today. We're always trying to bring you cool things. We want to share this with the rest of the world, and we know that people watch all over the world when we're able to do this. So we really do appreciate everybody showing up. But for now, this is going to be NASA Spaceflight coverage live from Boca Chica and briefly the skies over Daytona, Florida. Signing off for the day. Look for us tomorrow, no earlier than 12 Eastern Daylight Time. So always, always, always appreciate you for showing up and supporting
Central
us.
time, not Eastern.
What did I just say?
I think you said Eastern.
Oh, I said Eastern. Yes. It's Central Time, right? Well, also no earlier than that Eastern, technically, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah, so no earlier than noon Central Time, which would be 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Thank you for correcting me on that. And we're going to go ahead and sign off and say later, nerds. Thanks again.
Pressure looks good. Following up. Roger, roll with planet. Water towers fly! Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.